Drop some smooth lyrics. So tune in 7 to 9:30 and don't be late. We about to set it straight. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Word. I'm ready. Let's go. Ain't no half stepping. That's the name of the show. Yeah. Marcus J hosting and we ready to go. Yeah. Hunters talk sprinkle with a dash of humor to the legacy listeners and the online viewers. What you want to talk about? Call in. We're hearing you. Cover all topics. Touch on the main issues. With you flowing this show, bring the heat. Yeah. The word on the street, Wizard Earl on the beat. We superb in the D legacy online. Okay. 7 to 9:30. Please be on time. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J, my brother. Yeah. If they can't hang, word to their mother. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission. We full force. And listen up, this Marcus Stage start to talk, running back. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission. We full force. And listen up, this Marcus Stage start to talk. Steppin' is the name of the show. Yeah, Marcus J hosting and we ready to go. Yeah, Hunters talk sprinkle with a dash of humor to the legacy listeners and the online viewers. What you want to talk about? Call in, we're hearing you. Cover all topics, touch on the main issues. With you flowing this show, bring the heat. Yeah. The word on the street, Wizard Earl on the beat. We superb in the D legacy online. Okay. 7 to 9:30. Please be on time. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J, my brother. Yeah. If they can't hang, word to their mother. And he been on this grind for a while. My brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission. We full force. And listen up, this Marcus Stage start to talk.
Ain't no how stepping with Marcus J is live. We are in the building. Thank you to everybody for rocking with us tonight. You are walking into the tail end of a conversation that we were having offline that we probably won't have online. It's okay, but yeah, we're not. But this is the opening where we tease what we're going to talk about today. Tonight's show obviously is going to be dedicated to the memory of retired General Colin Powell, who we lost today. We'll talk about that. We got to talk about the Kyrie Irving NBA situation. What happened on a train that everybody watched and nobody did anything about? We got to talk about that as well. There's so many things in the news. I won't tease it all in case we don't get to it. But you are watching, you are listening, and you are a part of the Ain't No Hashtag with Marcus J experience here live from New Den of Legacy Internet Radio. We live right now, y'all.
Yeah. It's about that time. It's about that time to get. Yeah.
Button your lip, open your ears, strap on your thinking cap. Socially conscious talk that's entertaining with a dash of humor and the top sports stories of the week. It's time for Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J.
Sellers has Jordan. Jordan with 2 seconds to go. Puts it up. It's good at the buzzer. Michael Jordan has won it for Chicago. Manning lobs it. Burris alone. Touchdown, New York.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. He hits one deep to right center. That ball is out of here. The Yankees win the pennant.
Ain't No Hashtag with Marcus J is live. We are in the building of New Den of Legacy Internet Radio. Be down with us tonight at 8044 022893. Be part of the flagship show heard live from New Den of Legacy Internet Radio. Thanking everybody for rocking with us tonight. We appreciate those folks checking us out on YouTube Live and Facebook Live. Thanking those folks that are watching and listening to the replays at a future time. We appreciate everybody who's liking and sharing and making themselves a part of what we're doing here. It's because y'all rock with us. We will roll with y'all. So as I teased it on the other side of this intro, of course, tonight's show is dedicated to the memory of retired General Colin Powell, who we lost today. We'll talk more about that here as we get into the balance of the show. And the other things we'll get into them as we get into them. Let me get properly introduce the usual suspects as we go around the room. You see them. But you're about to hear from him. Of course, our brother joins us every single week. He sits across from me, my brother and yours. Our brother John is here. What it do, homie? What it do, homie? Yeah.
What's up, my brother? How you feel?
I am doing pretty damn good today, man. I can't call it. You doing all right?
How was the weekend?
Whatever outstanding is, more than that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like outstanding would be like here. And then my weekend was like on top of that.
Before I turn it right over to our wonderful sister, I want to tell you something.
Yep.
To the audience, we hung out. Marcus J and I hang out all the time, but we hung out recently.
Yeah.
I'm still a little high on that because it was a vibe, man.
Yeah.
It was a vibe, bro.
Yeah.
And it was a very pleasant
Yeah.
and surprising vibe that I got in Richmond.
Yeah.
And it's one of the times in Richmond that I've hung out what I would consider late for Richmond because stuff be closing earlier. But we hung out.
Yeah.
It was a good vibe, and
we can.
I want to do that when it comes up again, in a month. I think it is. I want to do that. Definitely do that
because
again.
there were so many special people in the building that day.
Yeah.
Well, let's get our co-host introduced, and we'll talk about that. Of course, she sits on my right hand because she is my right hand. She's our co-host. She's our sister. She's the balance. She keeps us in order when y'all don't have the camera watching us. When John and me are here wilding. She gives us, and then we make sure that what I'm saying, it's that big.
Y'all keep my side eye working.
Yeah.
Working.
Eddie Murphy said with the shoot.
Pretty much. That's a throwback.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, the boomerang. Yeah. I had mama on the road trip go through that. And I realized how old we are, Steph, when it comes to comedy, because she likes Kevin Hart. She tolerates Dave Chappelle. So I figured I would get her in the same line.
Right.
And so I started with Chris Rock, and then I worked my way back from Chris Rock because I figured, some of his stuff, even though he's annoying as hell, he's funny, most of the time. So I gave us.
I don't find Chris Rock as annoying as Kevin
It's his
Hart.
voice. It's his voice.
Oh, yeah,
I like the intellectual
thing.
social commentary. That's why I like Chris, and that's why I like Dave, and it's why I don't care much for Kevin. So I tried to give her Richard Pryor. I tried to give her Eddie Murphy. I tried Rodney
Red
Harris.
Fox. No,
that was
he's too much.
Yeah, that's too much.
Red Fox old school is too much.
It's actually kind of too much. It's kind of too much for me. I like Fred Sanford. I didn't care too much
for raunchy Red Fox.
But Red Fox told jokes like this. Once upon a time, I was going down to the corner. And when I got to the corner, I saw a lady, and she did X, Y, he tells jokes like that with quick punchlines. Yes. So, but anyway, she couldn't handle it. So anyway, how was your weekend?
It was good. I tried to keep it simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were a couple things I wanted to get to, but I figured if I didn't, it wasn't supposed to be done.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I could dig it.
And so then always forward. I didn't look back and feel any regrets about it.
Yeah.
No regrets. No. I clearly didn't hang out where the fellas was hanging out.
Well,
I'm trying, I'm not even trying to not be offended. I'm like Beyonce. I show up magically.
It was a pull-up event.
Oh, okay.
Where Jamil JC, who
I did see that online,
Legacy Internet Radio alumni, from Jamil and Yoshi show. He and Sudan always put on outstanding events, and they put on an event Friday night at Sunday service out on Laburnum, and we were in the building because one of the dopest singer, producers, entrepreneurs, entertainers in this city was there, and that's our sister Jody Smith. So where she's at, that's where I'm gonna be.
Yeah.
You know,
I can give to Miss Jody Smith. Entertainer, out the just crazy.
yeah,
When you can do your own material and make people feel like they know it.
they work because they did.
No,
But-
she did a new joint though.
Yeah,
Nobody had never heard.
but the first song we was in there singing.
I ain't know the words.
Yeah.
She did a new song that she had never performed anywhere before, and people were on it and felt like they knew it. It felt very familiar.
Yeah.
She's an incredible artist.
She's definitely a good talent.
Yeah.
Check out her Facebook.
Yeah.
Smith, something or whatever. Just look her up. She's dope.
JMM Music. You know, when that CD came out, her mixtape came out. It literally rode in my car. I literally just took it out like maybe a year ago. It came out like 5 ago, and it didn't crisscross 2 cars. I mean, like it was one of those, and so we had an opportunity. So we just shouted out our brother Jamil JC, our brother Sudan. Of course, we were there to support Jody Smith. Also in the building, we saw our sister, the Dessert Diva, was in the building. We had an opportunity to have. She was checking out the show a couple of weeks ago, so we give her love. And then, of course, the brother who wrote, produced, and performed our theme song, the Ain't No Half Step with Marcus J version, the newer version, our brother Earl Wizzy Jones. Was in the building, so we got an opportunity to hang out with him too. So we didn't expect all that, you know. So it ended up being, that's why John was gushing
Richmond
about
does
it.
some good events.
It was a great event, you know, when you look at all of the wonderful and outstanding people who are in the building. One other person I do want to shout out. I want to shout out my brother Tim Casey. Tim Casey is the brother who put Marcus J and the crew on for radio 10 years ago last month. Shout out to him. His birthday is this week, and tomorrow on Tuesday night, the brother celebrating his birthday at the Pits. So if you got a notion to check in with Tim from 7-Eleven, the old school,
You got a notion, a hankering.
I'm an old guy, man. You know, and that is not a bunch of malarkey. Yeah,
no
but
malarkey
shout out to the brother Tim Casey, and if you have a opportunity to shout him out on his birthday tomorrow at the Pits on Broad Rock, from 7 to 11, anytime the brother's in the building, it's going to be some old school, and if you're into the old school flair, that's where you need to be. Ain't No Half Step with Marcus J, live from New Den Legacy Internet Radio. All right, so we'll kind of move into the show tonight. You know, it's always difficult when, well, first of all, let me get a couple of comments in, because social media has already come through for us, and so let's get some comments in, and then we'll move on. James is checking in. He said, peace from hip hop forum culture. Keep up the excellent work. James, thank you, brother. Thank you for watching and listening and sharing your kindness, brother. We appreciate you. I appreciate my sister. She is successful. My sister, the career cheerleader, Cara Presley, is checking us out. She's saying evening to us. She said it's the shirt for me. She likes my shirt, y'all.
Yeah,
so,
I loved it too. When I walked in the door, I commented.
Yeah, but you got to see the hat too. I ain't about no games. You know what I'm saying? I'm a Gemini, man.
Mix and match.
Yeah, I'm a Gemini.
Let them know.
You know, I could be sweet and salty.
Yeah, Sour Patch Kid.
It's what you want.
Right.
You can have whatever you
like. Yeah, whatever you like.
Yeah, you go. Ain't No Half Steppin with Marcus J live from New Den Legacy Internet Radio, and our brother John is also checking us out as well. John, appreciate you rocking. We're gonna roll with y'all. So, all right, I think I got everybody who's already checked in. And 804-402-2893 is the number to dial if you want to be a part of tonight's discussion. That is how you do it. All right, so we heard this morning, retired General Colin Powell has passed away. Deepest condolences to his family and to his friends and to his colleagues and to all of America who has watched the guidance and wisdom of this wonderful, wonderful leader, this wonderful, wonderful pioneer. this man who has done so many great things and has been so many great things to so many different people, elected as well as not elected. I'm sorry, appointed as well as not. As far as some of his accomplishments, and my phone is ringing, and I don't know why anybody will call me.
How many years?
Yeah, I've been doing it for 10 years, man. 10 years. Why are you calling
come
me,
on
man?
now.
Come on.
Gotta be a sales call.
Yeah, it's not, and I love the person, and if the person's
And you know
listening and
better.
watching.
If
Yes,
it's
I
that
just
serious,
talked about
text
you. But the
911.
best thing about this is I did not call you out by name, and I'm not going to do that. But you know what I'm doing right now. Why are you calling me?
911 if it's that serious.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So, but it happens. Like
Yeah.
it happens. I got to
Well,
call
they could also just call. Was it 804?
402.
Yeah.
2893. Yeah,
Yeah, call up.
Yeah, 804
We'll take the call and be glad to hear from you.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I had to throw that shade. So anyway, to get back focused, Steph, let's talk with you first, and we'll get John's opinion or his thoughts next, and we'll get into the show. We lost General Colin Powell today. Pick up there. Any reflections?
You know, party affiliation didn't really matter to me as it related to Colin Powell, not because I didn't disagree with some of the things that he co-signed for, under the different administrations, whether it was Reagan or G-Dub, but because unlike the current Republican Party and most of the people in it, he was not strictly party aligned. He had ethic and he had moral that a lot of them didn't. So when he decided to co-sign on Barack Obama and endorse him for president, instead of choosing John McCain that he was really close with, very friendly with, he did it and he explained himself. He let people know, I cannot get behind Sarah Palin. That will take the country in a dark direction. And that's the thing you don't see now. You don't see people deciding that, okay, I voted for Joe Biden, but I don't like this policy and I'm willing to speak out against it. People are expecting that you carry the party line no matter what. You can't even disagree with your own party. We obviously see how terribly it has ruined whatever the Republican Party was. It exposed the seedy underbelly of the Republican Party and allowed it to take over. So I like that he was always a person of principle. When he endorsed Barack Obama, he then followed up and endorsed Hillary Clinton because, unlike the people who swore they just couldn't vote for her because it was a lesser of two evils thing, he was smart enough to understand that there was no comparison. There was no reason to be voting for someone who was narcissistic, someone who was self-absorbed in all ways, so much so that they couldn't even educate themselves about the things that being president required. And that you just don't see it now. And then on top of it, he was comfortable acknowledging that as a Black man positioned the way that he was, even if he had to rise above, he still was living within privilege. And so there were certain things he didn't comment on because a well-to-do, well-positioned, politically connected Black man doesn't have the same experience as a Black man in certain other circles. And so he knew that his voice might distract from that sometimes because politically he didn't necessarily align with some of the things that would have been helpful to those Black men. So he just minded the business that paid him. And I appreciate that. If your words are only gonna hurt, then we don't need you over here. And he knew that. He also admitted to his failures and shortcomings as it related to the decision to go to war in Iraq. And he basically said, or was it Afghanistan, one or the other, but he said, I know it wasn't long term, it wasn't the best decision, but when we made it, I believed in it. And I respect that he could come back and say that. So just a lot of things, really, again, not about his politics, because we wouldn't have been aligned in a lot of areas, more about his ethic and his personal moral. And I think at the end of the day, regardless of what party you're in, if you have a personal ethic and a fine line that you created for yourself, you could lead anybody. And that's what I think was great about him.
You know, have Steppin Marcus J live from New Den, Legacy in that radio. As we progress through and move on to John, I'm gonna get a couple of comments in from our family who is checking us out. First up, all the way from the great city of Greensboro, North Carolina, cousin Terry and our brother Fishbone are checking us out tonight. So, cousin Terry, my sister, cuz you know how I feel about you, and tell Bone I said, peace, my brother. I love y'all. Peace to my brother Damon, my favorite person in the world. He's checking us out. My brother, my partner, my homeboy since we was children. My man, thank you for checking us out. And yo, y'all already know how this one go. She's saying good morning. So when she says good morning, you know that we always respond in kind. And as we say to her in unison,
good morning, Sue.
Yeah, ain't no half stepping with Marcus J live from New Den Legacy in that radio. 804-402-2893. This is the number to dial to rock with John, to rock with Steph, and I'm here too. John, what you got, brother? It's Colin Powell, who we lost today. And we're having some reflections. We got to talk about this lion of our people that we just lost today.
There are few people who are as visible as a Colin Powell, who I say were influential in my manhood. Colin Powell, New Yorker Colin Powell, was one of those men. Charlie Rangel, one of those men. Dave Dinkins. What's my brother's name? Who used to do the beauty pageant for the girls, for the teens?
I don't know.
The black teen, the Miss Black Teen.
Oh no, that one. You're really
Steve,
dating
come on, help
yourself,
me.
I think.
No,
Steve Harvey hosts everything.
no. Help me out. Help me out, somebody
Nick
that's
Cannon.
listening.
All right, so ask your listeners real quick. Tell your listeners who you want.
Who did the black teen pageant in New York City all the time? It was a big deal back in the day. Somebody help me out with that.
Okay.
These brothers were very influential in my childhood, growing up in New York in the 70s, 80s. And Colin Powell, Eric Holder, another New Yorker, and his family. These men were people who were not athletes or movie stars or musicians or what have you, who really played a part in me I forgot Major Owens, right? Major Owens, you guys may not know Major Owens, but he was a politician and congressman. His son is Godfrey Owens, that was on the Cosby Show, the one they had that big deal with when he was working at Trader Joe. His father was a well-recognized attorney,
Jeffrey,
and a politician, Major Owens. These men helped shape me to become the man I am, and part of why I was a part of the Republican Party was directly because of Colin Powell. And being able to have a black man offer a perspective from the conservative side of things, just in contrast of the constant New York Democratic machine, being able to hear that ideology gave me a bit of a balance to shape my ideas and not know that it was just one side of an argument. And I think black folks miss out a lot because we only ever, for the most part, the vast majority of us only ever get one side of it, and we think that's all it is. And anything that's contrary to that is absolutely wrong, and we turn a blind eye to it and shut our ears off. And you should never shut your ears to right and truth. And a lot of times, the conservative viewpoint It's just something somebody needs to hear. Colin Powell is an amazing, accomplished individual. If you go over his life accomplishments and see what he did at the level he did it, not just, doing it, but doing it at a certain level, to understand that was amazing. And like Steph said, when he came out and said, Barack's my guy,
Yeah.
right? And why he said it, and he was able to speak so eloquently. He said something to the effect that, being black might have been enough, but guess what? This dude is actually the best this country has to offer for this position right now.
Yeah.
He said he was exceptional. He
Right.
said that he was ahead of his time. He said that he was going to be a game changer and that he would be legendary.
The irony of that is that, as we spend today eulogizing him, Mama Jay asked me today, we were texting. I haven't seen her much today. But we were texting and she'd asked about, who's this dude and what's the big deal? Not those words, but I'm speaking naturally here. And I told she actually the question was, have I known him my whole life? Because her whole life I've always given her names, study Kwame Nkrumah, study El Haj Malik El Shabazz, study Stephen Biko, study Huey P. Newton, study, all of these people, Nelson Mandela, all of these names, some we've heard of and we speak of commonly, and others we haven't. One of the names that she had not been given was Colin Powell. For whatever reason, I just haven't given her that name. So she wasn't familiar as, and she's 18. So you got to also remember that. So she was like, who's this dude and what's the big deal? So I'm like, how long have you known he was? I said, well, I have probably known of him since I was in my 20s, but I've really known of him since 9/11. That's where most people our age have been introduced to him because he was Secretary of State at the time. And, with all of the goings on between the weapons of mass destruction, we go to war and we mad at them, we fight and all this stuff. We got to spend a lot of time with General Colin Powell. I'm gonna move on and get back to the discussion in just a minute, but let's get a couple of comments. And first, we getting a hit from cousin Terry. She's answering your question, John. She says J. Morris Anderson created the black teen pageant in New York City.
I was thinking Hal Jackson, though. I think.
Yeah.
He was
Talented teens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Talented teens.
Yeah.
Okay.
John,
So,
you
yeah,
really
both
are
of those
dating
people,
yourself here.
I never have a problem with that.
That's who. Yeah. That's.
I had someone tell me today that I told them I was 53 years old. They said that's what you call success.
Yeah.
So I'm a whole lot.
Yeah. Ain't no half stepping.
Big shout out to Showbiz the Adult. Check out his show on YouTube, y'all. He shouted me out with that. Thank you, brother.
Ain't no half step. Marcus J. Live from New Den Legacy in that radio. We're also getting a hit from our sister Michelle of Mom Michelle's, who is checking us out. She's saying, "Hey there,
hey, what's up,
hey
Michelle?
there,
Hi,
thank you for
Michelle.
rocking and thank you so much for being a part of what we're doing here tonight and all of the nights that you rock with us, John."
So yeah, oh man, I think I lost my thought. It was the Colin Powell thing. Oh, something to help y'all out with Colin Powell. Some of the younger people. The funny thing is, they did a show about a movie about 9/11, and you know who played Colin Powell in the movie?
I don't know, Kevin Hart.
Try it again.
You better stop.
Try it again.
You?
Try it
Sir.
again. A very very popular actor at the time played Colin Powell in the movie.
Not what's his name
y'all
from
ain't never gonna
Empire?
guess
I
it.
don't know. I don't know. Leonard Nimoy. I don't know.
You ready? You were close. When he said Leonard Nimoy, he was close.
Bill Will Shatner. I don't know.
Nah.
You better stop.
I'm clowning, but just tell me.
James Gandolfini
You
the hell
are
outta
better
here.
stop.
played Colin Powell.
Tony
in the
Soprano
9/11
played Colin Powell.
in the
Y'all keep
9/11
it
movie.
pushing. I
Look
can't.
it up.
I can't.
Look
right
it up.
now.
Stop
You
playing.
got the computer right there.
I,
Look it up.
I don't even want to look at
He
it. You want me to
played
be
Colin
mad?
Powell.
Hey,
That's
man.
like when
The
they
white
had
dude played
Angelina
Michael
Jolie play play a black woman.
What about Russell Crowe as Moses? Not Moses. Noah.
That-
Noah.
Yeah, he was Noah.
Anytime
yeah.
you see
Yeah,
white
but
folks
see,
playing
there's
biblical
no
people,
there's no
it's bad.
ambiguity or
About
confusion
James-
about the
James
fact
Gordon.
that Colin Powell is a Caribbean black man
Yes,
from
he
New
is.
York,
He is
And he's played by
and
an
James
Italian.
Gandolfini, Tony Soprano played General Colin Powell in the movie 9/11
I
movie.
I'm
got-
looking
I
it up because
got-
I feel
got-
terrible just hearing it and
nothing.
can't see it.
I got nothing and whatnot.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think they named the character, but that's like
That's
I
who
don't
he
think they
was.
identified the character in the movie as Colin Powell. But people who knew what was going on knew that was the part he was playing.
I
yeah.
cannot
You know, a lot
believe-
of
I
times those
cannot.
movies will have like a composite character. So if you're saying that's what
It wasn't composite. It was the general in charge. It was factual events, historical events. He
But
played,
not using. They
they
didn't.
didn't identify him as General Colin. Like James, his character didn't say General. I don't think it said Colin Powell on it.
Did
It might
anybody's
have.
character in there say George Bush? This, that, and the other.
I'm not sure. I don't
Okay,
remember.
it
I
might have
remember the
just
show 'cause
been,
it
you
was a
know,
big deal. It was a big
artistic.
deal for like 2 days on
what do they
TV.
Mm-mm.
I think it was something 9/11.
little
or
artistic
whatever.
license.
Yeah.
Ain't no hashtag Marcus J live from New Dan Legacy and that radio. One of the things that I want to talk about is the cause of his death, which has taken us into a different conversation. And one would say, why would we spend any time on that? And obviously, we can spend this whole show talking about retired General Colin Powell, and with respect to him. In the interest of time, we're not going to do that, but we are going to talk more about some of the topical things that have come out of his death. More specifically, the cause of his death. Now, when we heard the story, and I heard it this morning as I was watching the morning news, they said that he died from complications of COVID-19 coronavirus, in which we know he had. Later on, because his family told us that he had it. But then later on, we find that he'd also been suffering from multiple myeloma, which is a form of cancer.
And Parkinson's.
And Parkinson's. Now, I'm no doctor. I'm only going to repeat what I've heard here. The difference between me and most folks is I keep it funky with that. Some folks quote people's stuff and they know they lying. Yes, I'm talking to some of y'all that's watching and listening who come for me.
Feeling quite froggy
Yeah.
today.
Oh, I'm leaping.
Just leaping and jumping.
I'm leaping today. And please don't ask me no rhetorical questions. That's a waste of everybody's time.
Yeah,
just
please,
make it just make it plain.
Spare me.
Yeah, just make it plain. But we know that the treatments for Parkinson's and many other afflictions will weaken your immune system, which is appearing to be the case here because obviously we have been told that retired General Colin Powell had been fully vaccinated from the coronavirus. Now, I'm not familiar personally which one, but vaccination is vaccination in my estimation. Having said that, there are some who are taking issue with the fact that we are reporting that he was fully vaccinated and still has succumbed to the coronavirus. So let me just kind of say my thing on this, and then I'm gonna turn it over to Steph and John, and we'll talk about it in a roundtable. I'll speak first on this one. I'm pretty tired of people not using common sense. Science is, it's science. It is what it is. And a lot of the people walking around today that have issues with the vaccine for coronavirus, walking around with polio in their arm, they got the little funky ass scar on their shoulder that a lot of older folks, people about 10 years or more older than us, are the ones with that funky ass scar. That's a vaccine, y'all. And y'all know the funky ass scar that nobody could explain what it was or where it came from. That's a vaccine shot. And if you know a person who has one, I just let you in on a little secret. Chicken pox, people my age, our age, we got chicken pox, vaccinations. Mama's 18. So I just went through all of this vaccination stuff. HPV is a new one. All of these people, all the vaccinations.
And by the way, they were pushing. They were trying to mandate HPV.
They want to make sure
which
you
shouldn't
you
be
get
mandated.
You want to make sure.
Yeah.
Now, common sense would tell you that a vaccine isn't going to be a cure. It's not. It's preventative. It's supposed to make sure that you don't get really, really sick and die. That's just what vaccines do. So when you have an 84-year-old person who has a whole bunch of other stuff going on, who's fully vaccinated from COVID, who also has medications and treatments that weaken his immune system. Why are we shocked that he died? Yeah, he was fully vaccinated. Yes, he had COVID, but he had a bunch of other stuff too. That does not mean that you can get the shot, still get that joint and die, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Are we always picking and choosing which battles to fight? This is really the mountain we want to plant our flag on. I get so frustrated with people that want to mix and match to make their arguments fit. This is not one of them situations. You have an 84-year-old man who was already sick with other stuff, who was fully vaccinated against COVID-19. His defenses was down anyway. He had it. He died. And he probably possibly died unrelated to COVID, even though he had that shot. We don't know. And we don't know what they will tell us. And that's part of the problem, because we don't know what they're going to tell us. But we have to use some common sense here, people. And I think we don't spend enough time doing that. We are afraid of the vaccine, but we're going to show up in the ER once we're sick to see the same set of doctors to cure us versus the ones who tried to get us from getting it in the beginning. So I'm a little bit off my soapbox, but I'm sure I'm gonna step back on it in a minute. I got some comments here in social media that I'm gonna read, and then I'm gonna turn it over to the family here. Our brother Hakeem is checking in. First time in a while, brother. Well, we haven't seen you in a while,
up,
but we
Doc?
appreciate you, man. 502 baby all day, every day. Love that you still think the average person could think themselves out of a paper bag. You know what?
Don't worry,
this is-
John's
this is-
here.
That's
He
my
does
brother.
not.
This is why I
That's my
this
brother
is why
right
I love
there.
Hakeem. You know why? Because Hakeem, you've been in this. Hakeem is the rare listener that's been with us since the beginning, and he understands our logic and our humor. And no, I think that I agree with Judge Judy that 1 out of 3 people, no disrespect to the crew here, I'll take the mantle here, but 1 out of every 3 people is an idiot.
No, I'll hold that. I'll
Okay,
hold
then
that
you can
one.
have it.
got
I was gonna bite the bullet.
No, no.
but
I
I
refuse
owe-
to.
fair,
I'm a
but
woman,
fair
I
enough.
cannot.
I make sure I make sure that I'm the dumbest person in the room while I find another room.
Yeah,
I'm the dumbest at
exactly.
relationship
You know what I'm
issues.
saying?
Can I
So,
claim that little piece?
Cousin Terry says I could not enroll my now 25 and 30-year-old children in school without vaccination. So here we are planting our flag
So
on the mountain of vaccinations when we got them already, and now this is the one that they trying to kill us with. It wasn't chicken pox or polio. It happens to be COVID. Come on, man, knock it off. Ain't no Astel Marcus J, live from New Dan Legacy in that radio. Y'all making it worse because we had a because of the person that was the president of the United States at the time screwed up everything because it's just a flu. Oh, it's gonna be all right.
While getting vaccinated.
While vaccinated, while knowing how bad it was, and messed up everybody. You want to talk about how cultural conditioning is real? This is an example of it. It shouldn't be that hard. We had a whole plan to deal with pandemics that got thrown in the trash. And we never had this issue before. And the prior president, prior to the last president, said, yeah, in the next 5 years, we're going to have a pandemic. And guess what?
did.
He nailed it by the year.
So
He nailed it by the year. And yeah, Hakeem is saying peace to us after his comments. So yes, John, now
So-
I am officially off my soapbox.
all
for
right,
now.
so let me say this. 98% of anti-vaxxers are flat earthers, and they just stupid. Full stop. However, the main problem with the other 2% of anti-vaxxers is not them. It's the other side kicking the I don't know what the spin on the vaccine and the virus, giving out bad information. Like just now, right? When you did the whole thing about the vaccination, we got vaccinations and all that. There's a key component that's different. This is a synthetic vaccine that's made differently than the ones we had. The ones we had as kids, they used what they call an inert composition of the actual thing,
Yeah.
so that your body could adapt to it, and it actually prevented you from getting it. What you get in the COVID vaccine is more or less a hyped up treatment that is a cocktail of different things that will cause you in most cases not to get sick enough to die. but it doesn't prevent you from getting it, and it doesn't prevent you from spreading it. So giving people that false narrative, although they slightly say it at the end, the general concept of people who receive the vaccine is, hey, I'm good now. So people go out and act stupid and get more people sick, right? So now they won't even listen to reasonable argument. One of the basketball players made a reasonable argument about why he didn't want to get the shot, and he had, like, I already had it. I got over it. I'm good. I'm generally healthy. This, that. Now he had a whole bunch of things, and nobody would offer him a reasonable argument to why he should get it. Because when they say, "Oh, well, why don't you think about other people?" He says, "I do." And y'all having the vaccine doesn't mean that y'all can't give nobody else the virus, because it doesn't. So when people say that, they need to stop pushing that false narrative, because it doesn't help at all. So that's a lie, right? But this stuff is why people stand on their anti-vaccine, anti-vax soapbox and get into it. All you got to do is tell the truth and let people make the rational decision on their own. Do you want to take the risk of dying or not? I don't want to take the risk of dying, so I'll get the shot. It is not a tracker, and it's not something that's going to kill you. It just is what it is. But the fact that they got to make it a star, give it a name, and put it on social media with its own page for likes and views, this is why we have a problem with it, right? So with Colin Powell, right? The man had cancer. He had cancer for years. He died of cancer. He happened to die testing positive for COVID. COVID didn't kill him. He had cancer, right? So, and that goes back to something I've talked about weeks and weeks, right? A death is a death. We don't want anybody to die, but stop saying COVID killed X amount of people, because we know that COVID, what's qualified as a COVID death, is anybody who dies and tests positive for COVID, whether or not COVID killed them. So we got to think about it. And COVID, it just doesn't discriminate. It'll kill anybody, young, old, healthy, not healthy. Pre-existing conditions and age makes you a higher percentage of somebody that will die. But guess what? Young, healthy people die too. It just happens. Sometimes it just gets in you. You don't know it's in you. And the next thing you know, you don't get to the hospital in time, and it can kill you, right? It's a respiratory thing. You got to breathe. So we just need to be more clear. We need to have less hype, more truth, and you got to put people in a position where the other side, the nonsensical side, doesn't sound so appealing when you get caught in a lie with your bullshit. That's it.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when you get in these discussions and debates, Steph, folks don't want to be wrong. And this ain't no thing where you want to be right, you want to be wrong, you want to be alive. You make whatever decision you make for yourself and for your family, and I could dig that. There's no issues with that with me. My deal is don't be spreading misinformation. Like, have the right information. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't be walking around with the wrong information. And that's what frustrates me. What do you think?
Yeah, and I'll say this about the part where vaccinated people can pass on the vaccine. That's absolutely true. But the more people are vaccinated, the less chance of the vaccine of the COVID being transferred person to person, and that's the point.
Right.
At some stage, they were all talking. The right was talking about herd immunity to justify some people not getting it. The problem is not enough of the herd is listening.
Right.
So Colin Powell may not have gotten COVID, he or his wife, because she got it too. And she's home recovering because she didn't have the comorbidities, which he's not only dealing with the myeloma, which reduces your immune system. It's a blood cancer, so your immune system is under attack. Your white blood cells, everything is under attack. Well, then the next step is he now is in chemo or some other type of cell therapy, which further reduces your immunity or your ability to fight.
Yep.
And so who knows who he was exposed to. See, the problem with saying you can have the vaccine and still pass it is that person who had the vaccine likely wouldn't have been exposed to someone who could transmit it in the first place if more of us would get vaccinated. And that's just the bottom line. Now,
Can you explain how that works? See, because the math on that is an issue. Because if you're saying more people who are vaccinated means less chance of spreading it, but vaccination does not prevent you from catching or spreading, how does those two things mix in the same bowl?
It's about-
hold that thought. Let me get social media in. First up, checking in with oh my goodness, my sister Jessie is checking us out. My sister Jessie, our sister Jessie is saying, hey y'all, listening while
Hello.
driving, sending some love and some peace. Thank you, Jessie.
Appreciate you. Thank
sister.
you.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Cousin Terry says let's see. I can't see because I'm blind.
Uh-oh.
So let me get closer to the screen. No shame, man. I mean, I'm embracing getting older. Y'all.
Yes.
I got vexed because I am around someone with compromise. I got vexed.
Vex and vax.
Yeah, there you go. I got
Showing your age. People ain't said
no,
vex in 30
pissed off,
years.
goddamn. She got vexed because she's around someone with a compromised immune system. Vaccines help build white cells. Okay. And our sister Andrea, appreciate you. Thank you. Peace to you and all of the Carters. Peace to y'all. She says, just tell the truth. That's all I'm saying. She kept it real and she kept it simple. Ain't no how to tell Marcus J.
So the thing that I'm saying is everything works statistically, yes, and in numbers. And so all of the doctors and even the right have acknowledged that the more people that are vaccinated statistically, the less opportunity for transmission. The less opportunity for transmission means more people need to be vaccinated.
I
So
still
instead
don't
of me
understand how
coming
that
across,
works.
instead of me coming across 3 in 5 people that haven't been vaccinated and being exposed to it, if I'm vaccinated, then I go to, okay, more people are vaccinated. It's a 1 in 5. You know, it's no different than anything else. Statistically, it makes more sense to have more people vaccinated.
Let me
It
get
does.
let me get one more comment in, and then John, you got the con here. Hakeem says you have to classify it as COVID. If someone gets stabbed in the heart, they're going to die from the loss of blood, but we know that it was a stabbing that brought it about. Simple example. Classifying these deaths as COVID related gives us the data we need to study the disease, what it can do to you, and the knowledge for anything like it. So I understand what he's saying. He's saying a lot of what you had been saying from the very, very beginning.
And I agree
You've
with
been
him.
saying that.
Yeah.
From
We
jump.
need the data.
Yeah.
We need the data. But
I also want to hold on because I wasn't done my point.
I'm sorry.
In regard to Kyrie or whatever, whatever the accent mark is on, I don't think that I don't spend a lot of time reviewing other people's decisions and what they want to do or don't want to do. If he and his employer have this agreement, it's no different than you have an agreement with your employer, and the employer has the opportunity to change the rules along the way. And it's a right to work opportunity, right? That's just how it is. It's not built for the brand, it's built for the business. He's a brand, he's not the business. The NBA is the business. So you're choosing that your brand is going to take a hit because it no longer agrees with your employer, who really has the strength. They're the power dynamic, right? We were talking off air about the power dynamic. I talk about this on Hustler High Radio all the time. When you're the employee, you can be, I've been the sales pro that was bringing in hundreds of thousands of dollars monthly to a business and feeling myself because I was like, I'm making them money. They ain't making me, the money I make them is the money I make me, period, right? And a lot of times there's no issues. But when that company has to make a decision that is necessary for the greater good of their business, whether you agree with it or not, they're going to do that. In this case with Kyrie and the NBA, he's bumping up against that experience that you're a brand, you're not the business. And there will always be another brand, meaning another baller in that environment. And so you need to now determine what you're going to do to protect your brand. And if it's The hill I'm going to die on is I'm not getting vaccinated. I'm going to make my point. I'm not going to play. Great. Then that's the way he's choosing for his brand to go. Now, whether that brand creates revenue based on that, and if it matters to you, that's important, right? So you can get 200,000 people that are like, all right, I'm gonna go buy a Kyrie jersey. Now I'm Candace Owens. All of a sudden, I like him when I've been telling ball players to shut up and dribble. But that's another conversation. Now I love him. I'm gonna go buy it. But you have another million people who are like, this idiot, and they decide not to get behind your brand, and then you start to experience the feeling of, no matter who you are, now other parts of the business don't want to play with you because you're difficult, is the perception. So that's what you're running the risk of when you're the brand and not the business. And that's really where he should think. And you know what he said? I don't care. I'm choosing this. So for that, I applaud him. Just don't think that we now have to support you if you end up in a cabinet situation.
I agree. I agree with that. And hold on, John. I got a couple of comments from social media. Then I'm gonna comment, and then you. I would tend to agree with that, and I'll expound on that here just a moment. Our sister Jessie says she's still watching. She says herd immunity via vaccine is how polio was eradicated from the United States, which is the truth, which is essentially what I was saying earlier. So, we're planting our flags on this this vaccine one way or the other, and that's fine. You do what you want to do. Hold tight on it, John. I got you in a minute. We're getting some love here from someone who I am very, very happy to see and hear from. He is a very, very special person to us here at Legacy Internet Radio. I remember putting my eyes on him at Folk Festival years and years ago on a Saturday night. I said, man, I got a radio station, man. I'd love for you to come through one day. He came through that Monday, 2 days later, and I have had him a part of this family ever since. Best wishes for speedy recovery and much love to my brother and yours, Mr. 3375 is checking us out right now. Man, I love you, brother, and I appreciate you. Got my fist in the air for you as it stays, and hopefully you someplace feeling good, getting strong, and doing what it is you do. Can't wait to see you and give you a hug, brother. Peace. Ain't no Hastel Marcus J. Terry says healthcare workers are required to get TB and tetanus shots in order to be employed. As personnel and professional decision, Kyrie has made millions. He's probably good. He'll buy a smaller house. I love the sarcasm because I share it. Here's what I will say about Kyrie. Kyrie is someone. There's different levels to this story, so just give me a second with this one. There's the Kyrie is a diva. He gets on our nerves, and we about tired of hearing his name part of the story, and that's real for some folks. And then there's the part of the story where if you don't want to get the shot, don't get the shot. You know what the consequences are. Take it. What's the problem? And I happen to be one that feels both. Like, I'm tired of the name Kyrie Irving. I don't want to talk about Kyrie Irving anymore. I'm tired of the fact that his name is always attached to stuff and drama and stuff like that with the National Basketball Association. When he was a free agent and there was talk of him coming to the New York Knicks, I was happy as a runaway slave when he didn't come to the New York Knicks. I didn't want him, and it's a lot largely because of the stuff that comes up with him. Having said that, I'm with him on this. You don't want to get the shot, don't get the shot. You're going to take the consequences, take the consequences. He know that he's going to lose some coin. He said it. So
and that's what I'm saying. Like,
so there, to me, nothing left to talk about. Oh, he's leaving his teammates in the lurch. Oh, what is this? He's supposed to be a player, the teammate. Nobody, hear me and see me. Nobody is above you. You are the team. Self-preservation is the first law of the land. So I understand the whole, you got to be there for your teammates. Hey, man, I can dig it. If I was a Brooklyn Nets fan, I'd probably say that. But if I'm being a man first, and if he's sincere, which by most accounts it appears that he is, he don't want to take the shot. And he's taking the consequences. I got to respect it. Even if I got heat with him being a diva in the news about the wrong stuff all the time. If this is that for some, then cool. This is that for some. This might be that for me, but at the same time, like, sure, right, do you. You losing money, as long as you know it, this becomes a non-story. Once he says, I know I'm losing money, I'm still standing firm. Ain't no hashtag Mark J, live from New Den, Legacy and their radio. Let's see. We're getting a hit from our brother, Coach Reggie Ship, checking us out. We appreciate you, brother. Thank you for being a part of what we do here. Always love with you. He says so much drama with this guy, but we as humans, we have choice in life. Don't judge him for it. That's what Coach Reggie Ship says about Kyrie. And then, of course, my brother, one of my oldest, matter of fact, not my oldest friend, my brother Kada. We've been brothers since I was 3 and he was 2. I know it embarrasses him, and I'm going to say it loud like that because I know it does. And I'm on the radio. He can call in and talk trash if he wants to. When I say create the world you want to live in, I'm quoting that man. That's the respect that I got for him. And you know how Steph Marcus J Live from New Den. Legacy Internet Radio, John. You got the con. I know you've been wanting to double dutch your way in, but
so
when I'm on a soapbox, you got to let me do what I do. One last thing, got a little bit more. Never mind. That comment is already read. Go ahead, brother. You got
so here, the net player whose name we're not gonna mention no more. I'll use the words of the immortal Black Mamba, Kobe Bryant. There's no I in team, but it's a me in that motherfucker. All right. So do you, Mr. Net basketball player, do you? Because guess what? It's 2 NBA teams in Texas and it's 2 more in Florida. Take your pick. Go play there. They let it have you. Right? There's some controversy about whether or not players from other teams with states without a mandate will be able to play in the New York stadiums. I've heard conflicting things about that on sports programs. I heard that they are, and I've heard some people say that they're not. If anybody who has clarity on that, please call in because I've heard both sides. Now I want to get back to this the vaccine thing and what I was talking about. Right? If you got a room with 100 people who are all vaccinated, and you got a room with 100 people who are not vaccinated, but who are, not over 50 and in general good health, right? And you take an infected person in there without a mask and put it in both rooms, you're going to get about the same amount of percentage of people infected with the disease. It's not going to change, right? Those people, if they go out and get in contact with other people who are vaccinated or not vaccinated, you will get the same amount of transmission of the disease. It does nothing to stop getting
That's misinformation.
Or it's not.
That's misinformation.
It's not.
It is.
Listen.
That's misinformation.
There is no percentage and there is no documentation or scientific data saying
that's your
what
opinion.
No, that is not my. Here's what it said about the transmission, right? Here's what it says about the transmission. We don't have. They're using the spread or non-spread of the disease to qualify that people aren't getting it as much because it's slowing down. However, there is nothing scientific or data-wise in the vaccination that says this stops you from getting it. This is why they can't give you.
It's not about the stop. There is proof that the Delta variant has been less likely to be
The proof
John.
is, listen, the proof is they're using the numbers of infected people as proof.
Let her make her
and that
point.
is not a proof.
Hold on.
There is nothing. Wait, no. Here's my point. I got to make my point clear. There is nothing contained within the virus that actively prevents you from getting the virus or spreading it. Full stop. You can take numbers and manipulate them however you want. There is nothing in the vaccine that prevents it.
But nobody said that, John.
But that's the only way.
Hold on. Let her finish.
The study that was done, and now I'm going to read directly from the study because it's just the study that was done clearly shows that people who become infected with the Delta variant are less likely to pass the virus to close contacts if they have had a COVID-19 vaccine than if they haven't. And that's my only point, is that the transmission of the virus is less likely among a vaccinated population. And then in turn, and even if it's relatively small, it dwindles alarmingly.
It is only based upon the number of infected people. It is nothing. Again, like I said, if you just want to run the numbers, you can just run the numbers and say less people are being infected. Period. Point blank. Why? Because more people are vaccinated, less people are getting it. But there
But
is
initially,
nothing.
that was not the continuous thing.
Nothing. There is nothing in the vaccination. There is no active ingredient in the vaccination that is preventative of receiving. Therefore, it is not preventative of transmission. It is not the polio vaccine. It is not the measles vaccine. It's different. It is a treatment.
But I'm gonna be adamant because
I got a
last
shot.
week we allowed
I got a
somebody
shot.
to promote oils over vaccine. So, and I didn't say anything. So I'm being very specific about
I never
this.
put anything over vaccine.
I'm just saying
I'm
we allowed
vaccinated,
somebody
people.
on
I got
air
the
that
shot.
we endorsed to say that last week. So I think it's important, to acknowledge and also the outcome. And I don't want to use the whole hour on this because at this stage it's irrelevant. People are, going down this silly little rabbit hole or not. But ultimately, and even his family said it, what we're trying to do is reduce the risk of exposure. And you can wrinkle up your face if you want to.
But you're not.
But
doing
the fact of the matter, not just from the CDC, but from the World Health Organization and other places, the reason we have had the rates of transmission that we have is we have less vaccinated people. It just is what it is. And you can say there's nothing in there or what have you, but the fact of the matter is the numbers have been showing that.
That's like saying less people died in car crashes since they've been getting vaccinated. Scientifically speaking, there is nothing in the vaccine that is preventative.
I'm gonna stop us because that's just not accurate.
It is accurate.
Less people who have the vaccine. When you look at vaccinated versus unvaccinated, the number of vaccinated people dying is far less.
I never said about dying,
but that's all that matters.
No.
But isn't that the point, though?
No. Listen,
isn't that the point?
But I got it. That's not my point that I'm making. We closed that door a long time ago. If you, whatever your percentage is, if you don't want to die, if you don't want to take a chance, no.
Treatment.
No. Listen,
I just don't want to go down that path anymore.
Back to the point is, if you don't want to take a risk of possibly dying, get the shot because it's possible you can get it and die. That's a very possible thing. I don't know how likely it is. It's a small percentage when you talk about the world's population. But guess what? I don't want to take a chance. I got the shot. Cool. I'm good with that. What I'm saying
is about
this idea. My point ain't even about transmission.
It was
my
a minute
point.
Ago.
That was my point.
It was a minute
my
ago.
point is about what we went back to before: the information, the rollout. Right?
That was
the numbers.
not what I was talking about.
What I'm talking about. No,
we're so far past that.
No, but listen, we're not past it because we go back again to making this thing a superstar, right? Giving it an identity and shoving it down people's throat that people still talk about. People can't get allergies without thinking they got COVID, right?
Those people need that.
Listen, it does. The psychological effect of this campaign, and it's a campaign, right? The psychological effect of this campaign on the American public is ridiculous.
No,
right?
Hard stop. We agree. We agree on that piece.
Right. So
that's not our point of contention.
All I'm saying is this, right? When you tell somebody that you getting this vaccine is going to stop you from giving it to somebody else or catching it, when you suggest it, you don't even say that. When you suggest it based on the fact that, well, more people have the vaccine now and less people are getting it. So, yeah, and the people who get it, it seems like everybody who we know got it, they didn't get vaccinated. So guess why? Because people who start coughing and stuff and realize they ain't get vaccinated, they go get tested. People who are vaccinated, they don't go get tested because they go, what? I'm vaccinated. So these numbers are skewed.
Says who?
Right? Says me.
Okay.
Because you know why?
No,
and I'm gonna tell you why.
And I asked you that for a very specific question.
But listen.
So make this point real quick.
This is my real quick point.
Because John said so.
Yeah,
The,
we're
no,
gonna
no,
move
not because
on.
John says so.
No, we're gonna move
Because
on.
if you break down what is in the vaccine from a medical standpoint, and I asked the doctor, asked several doctors, all of the contents in the vaccine, there is nothing in there that is preventative.
Okay.
There is nothing in the vaccine.
Stop.
So that's it.
Okay.
That's scientific.
All right. So I won't even argue that point. The only point, and I'm gonna take the last word on this because we're gonna move on, because we get so polarized whenever we get on this that it usually starts good and then it does, and then it doesn't get productive. Yes, it sounds way too anti-vax, and I know that's not your intent. But that's exactly how it comes off, and it comes off a little crazy, to be honest with you.
But you know why it sounds like that?
But I will,
because the vax has been shoved down people's throats.
But I will, but I
Okay,
will
but it's
say,
also irresponsible to.
you agree that you
present it
should
a
get the
certain
shot.
way.
Nothing
but
I
then
said is a
If you
lie.
know that the shot, if you know that
it's
the
yeah.
shot has value,
It's not
it's a little
productive
bit
for you to make the
irresponsible.
point that you think you should get the shot while at the same time saying things that would make people not want to get
No.
it. And that, whether you think you're doing that or not, is exactly what you're doing. One,
More than anything else.
and two, at the end of the day, all you have to do is ask a person with common sense and put it out there. You get the shot to get me less likely to get real sick? Yes. Less likely to die? Yes. That person is going to have a choice now. Get the shot or don't get the shot. I've said
But
publicly
people are not having
on
the
more than
choice.
one occasion, I don't care what you do. Just stay away from me whether you got it or not. Use your own mind, but use some common sense with it. And if you can't do that, then I don't know what else to tell you. But the good thing is, I've already told you to stay away from me, so you won't be near me anyway. And you know how Steppin Marcus J Live from New Dan Legacy and that radio. I have to stick my tongue firmly in my cheek with this one because we can start good, but then it goes left, and we'll be in this forever, and we got other shit to talk about. How Steppin Marcus J Live from New Dan Legacy and that radio. Terry says the point of getting the shot is to lessen the severity. Less people are infected with the mumps, measles, and chickenpox because of vaccinations. Fewer people died in car crashes when seat belts became mandatory. Those three comments are the absolute money shots of this discussion. They are, and
because the polio virus was preventative.
We're moving on. We're moving on, bro. And because we've
because
gone
what
through.
she said is not true. The polio vaccine was preventative. There were things within the vaccine that stopped.
Do people?
No. Let me finish my point. Let me finish my point.
You've made this point already.
There's
we don't
significant
have to keep making
amount.
the same point.
But then you allow a point that's counter to that, and it's a lie. There are things within
We've
the polio
already established
vaccine.
that what you're saying isn't what we feel is accurate.
But it's
here.
not about feeling. This is a scientific fact. There are things within the polio vaccine that prevents 99% transmission of polio. There is no active ingredient in the COVID vaccine that does anything like that.
Do people?
Period.
Are less people dying? Are less people getting severely
Of course,
sick?
but it's the vaccine is preventative.
But that's
the polio vaccine was preventative. It was made from an inert part of the virus. This is a synthetic chemical treatment.
Are less people dying? Because that's the point. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I've been talking about since the beginning.
But see why? So here's what it is.
Are less people dying?
You're going to lessen and invalidate what I'm. It's not a debate. It's two different subjects.
Simple question.
So what you're doing is you're using what you feel and what you believe, which is the same thing that I feel and believe, to invalidate what I'm saying, which is the responsible parties, the U.S. government, World Health Organization, FDA, all of Fauci, all them people are misleading people through a direct campaign, pushing this virus as a distraction. It is deadly. It's bad enough that people are dying from it. Stop with the BS.
All right, I tell you what, I'm gonna give you 1 minute to make your point on what's the difference and what's the point. And after that,
I'm done.
We are done with this topic for tonight. So you will get the last word, but you will get 1 minute. And here's the question. What's the point in what you're saying and what I'm saying? Because what I'm saying, I'm going to make it very clear what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
You got 1 minute and not a second more. What is the point when I say less people are getting really sick and less people are dying? And that's the only point that matters. That's what I'm saying. That's what Steph's saying. That's what most folks who would suggest to you get the shot including you, who suggests get the shot, appears to be saying, but then you go down this path about it's a treatment and 99% polio and all that stuff. So make your point, but we got to move on.
It's your right. It's your body. It's your choice. First and foremost, right? The idea that what you are doing, right, directly adversely affects others based on receiving the vaccine and not receiving the vaccine is not true, because within the COVID vaccine, there is zero particles that are preventative. There is nothing that stops you from getting it. The other vaccines, they used an inert portion of the virus in the virus, which directly affected your body and preventing you from getting the disease. You could go in a room with a bunch of people with polio and however it's transmitted, not get it. Same thing with measles and not get it, right? With this vaccine, you go in a room with people with COVID, you're probably going to get it, right? So it is not active as a vaccine in that way. And having the majority of people who get vaccinated feel like they are is an issue. Also, telling people that the only way that you will stop hurting your family members and friends and loved ones is for you to get it, because this way you probably won't give it to them, is bad info. Because now if you do get it, you don't think that you got it, and then we'll go around people irresponsibly and give it to them, especially people who are at high risk. That is the difference in the point.
Okay. I got you. I mean, you're consistent. If you're nothing, you're consistent. Ain't no hashtag Marcus J. Live from New Den, Legacy Internet Radio. All right, so I almost feel like I'm gonna step on the third rail, sending this back to you, John. But I'm gonna send this back to you because we did see. Well, we'll leave this piece of it alone, and we'll deal with it another time. But there was a story, Steph, that John and I saw literally right before you got here that I do want to get his opinion on. I'd like to get yours. We'll literally, it's 10 after the hour now. We'll spend a maximum of 5 minutes on this, and then we will get to some other stuff. But the National Hockey League has suspended Evander Kane 21 games. Evander Kane is a player for the San Jose Sharks. He was suspended for submitting a fake COVID-19 vaccination card. Obviously, it's consistent with where we are. I don't want to take a lot of time on this, but it does speak to a lot of what we're seeing what folks are doing now, because they're trying to get around some of these mandates that are becoming more and more prevalent through the sports leagues, and in some cases, in more personal cases, private companies. So what's your thoughts on this? John, you got this player. It doesn't matter who he is. It doesn't matter his team. He's suspended by the league, not by the team. He got a fake card. He got suspended 21 games. What's your thoughts?
The card was real. It just ain't belong to him. But anyway, yeah, man. I don't know what to say about the idiots in situations where some people do that kind of thing and typically like to go sit down in a restaurant. Like the guy, the bouncer at the restaurant don't know what you could give them a library card and tell them it's your ID. They don't know what it is, and they gonna let you in the restaurant. But when you talk about something serious like your job, like you should take it more serious. You know, you really should. And I'm gonna tell you something, man. I gotta tell people I got the shot, right? When I got the shot and they handed me my card, it made me feel real suspect about getting the shot. And I had already got it, because that card looked like something a sixth grader made up in computer lab, right? It's nothing to it. There's no barcode. There's no scan. It's handwritten. And they write down this number that's supposed to go with the vial, and you good. And they don't even keep proper data on it. So it's like,
how do you know they don't keep proper data on it?
Because I asked and I did the research.
John,
they know this is what they know. They know where they know where they have a vial number from 1 to 1,000. This is just a random number from 1 to 1,000. They know from 1 to 1,000 went to this area. That's what they know, right? So you got an area. This is where the vaccine went in this area. So if you got the vaccine from this area, then you know it was distributed. Then they know when the loads were administered, but it doesn't track to an individual because they say it imposes upon individual rights.
That part I do. I see that part. Ain't no Hastel Marcus J live from New Dan Legacy Radio. Hakeem says the COVID vaccine is an mRNA vaccine. That's the difference. So technically, John is correct in my opinion. Partially correct. I think I'm working and I'm distracted. Terry says, John, we have vaccination cards in order to enroll in school. So everybody's got their opinion on it, but we are actually moving on. Ain't no Hastel Marcus J live from New Den Legacy Internet Radio. All right, so a couple things that we want to get to, Steph. I want to talk about the article with the sister on the train in Pennsylvania. Can you walk us through that one and bring us up to speed and let us round table? We teased it in the opening, but a woman on a Pennsylvania train
Commuter rail
had some
SEPTA.
had some stuff go on. So I'll give you the con here, Steph. If you working on getting it up, you ready?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up too because I read it. I saw it on the news and and everything else, but I do think it's relevant. No, because I do think it's relevant just from the perspective of this is somebody's life. I don't want to misrepresent anything. But SEPTA, which means Southeastern Pennsylvania Transit Authority or Transportation Authority, may not be as large or cover the space as much as MTA, which is in New York.
Right.
But it definitely is a way for a lot of commuters to travel. And over the weekend, a woman was on SEPTA, was on one of the trains, the commuter trains, at pretty crowded train.
LIRR, y'all, basically.
Yeah, think about yes. If somebody does know about the LIR, yes, it is very similar. And surveillance footage caught an active and I, just trigger warning, this is about sexual assault, sexual abuse, things like that. So if it triggers you, just an early warning on that. But a man on a train, as they said, proceeded to rip off a woman's clothing. And at first he tried to touch her several times. She, fended him off. Then he proceeded to rip off her clothing, assault her, and over a period of 8 minutes, rape her. So and mind you, this train is full. There are people on this train. There are enough people on this train that TikTok had to ban any video of it. That means not only were people on the train, they were recording it. They were recording a woman being actively assaulted. And I hate to water it down by saying assaulted. Actively raped on a train, traveling through Southeastern Pennsylvania, taking video. Surveillance footage caught it as well. Plenty of passengers were there to stop the assault. No one, not one person did. And it would have been so easy to intervene. Would have been so easy to intervene that the authorities have already arrested the suspect. Already got him, which means if the authorities got him that quickly, they could have intervened and stopped this. And so the question becomes, and I say this because we are in, and I'm definitely a mind your business type of person to some degree. I think part of it is the nature of where I grew up. You kind of mind your business. I like elements of it in that I feel when I moved south, people were a little too comfy and cozy with who are your people and where you go to church and asking very personal things that we really don't do up north. So I can culturally be a mind your business kind of person. Like you do you, I do me. We don't have to wave hello when we're going to work in the middle of a traffic. We don't need to stay in each other's cars at the stoplight.
They
all
do that
stuff.
in Harlem a little bit.
I'm good. Just let me get where I need to go. Right.
Mhm.
In this case, and I've always said this, I think that being a good citizen trumps minding your business. And for me, I've seen videos of older or elderly women being attacked on trains and no one, I mean, a packed train, rush hour in New York. Nobody gets involved. I've seen a young girl in an episode of domestic violence inside the MTA. Nobody said anything. This is not the first rape or attempted rape that has occurred on public transportation. Nobody did or said anything. And I know that people process their safety first. You know, you can think of when it happened out in Seattle and two gentlemen were killed after trying to protect I think it was two Muslim girls that were on the train, from an attacker, and he stabbed them to death. I get it. We're all concerned about our health and our physical safety and our ability to protect ourselves. There is 0% chance that Steph B could be on a train with someone and watch that person either, being assaulted, physically harmed, sexually assaulted, any of that. Hands be put on and know that a person is being victimized and not say anything.
I can't even.
Impossible.
I can't even imagine.
You know where I'm at on that.
Yeah,
I already
I
know,
mean,
John.
that's
y'all already
that's,
know.
I mean, that's
part of why I live here.
Yeah, that's one that I can't even wrap my brain around. You know, we have these stories and we're supposed to well, at least I'm supposed to wax poetic about all of these grand things that we would do, but it's none of that. Like you see that in front of you, like we all know that exists, unfortunately. But to see it in front of you and not do nothing,
not a thing.
Bro, I can't even. I can't even. John, I want to hear what you think about this before I give it to you. We got a very, very, very special listener who just checked in, and I've known this man my whole life. He's known me my whole life, and the reason why it's my brother.
Oh, your brother. Okay.
My brother. You know, my big brother is checking us out. My big brother, Chuck a Luck. Love you, man. I saw him like a week ago, and I don't know when I'm gonna see him again. That's the cool thing about our interaction as brothers. I don't know when I'm gonna get a chance to see him, but he'll always surprise me. I didn't expect him to check in, and then he just gave little bro a big old boost. Now I'm grinning and stuff. I don't know how. See, cousin Terry say, "Hey Chuck, yeah. See, you getting love, big bro. We all love you, and thanks for rocking." John, you got the con, bro.
So here goes the problem. And people don't realize that I try to just drive this point home, right? Subtlety, small things over a long period of time. I mean, the Grand Canyon was a creek. The Grand Canyon was a creek. Look at it now. Look at what happened to people. You know what? We got problems. Social media, right? Too many different videos, pranks. See people pranking people, like in the supermarket, throwing stuff over the thing and hitting people. What happens to the day you do that? The dude turns around and shoots you. You're dead. People's pranking in Brooklyn. These two white guys is going around snatching guys' phones and pulling their pants up till they started getting their ass beat severely. They had to stop it. The dude, this is Tyrone. I'm Tyrone, and I came to do whatever he came to do and slap stuff out of people's hands and stuff. He wound up getting shot and in the hospital, and then came back and did the same thing again, dumbass. So this is a problem. Social media has become a problem, right? And then I'm gonna give you another one. There was a guy on a bus, right, who saw another dude with a young girl, and he was doing whatever he was. I don't know if he was like molesting her, he was doing something wrong. And dude stepped in, and him and the guy scrapped, and he got the better of the guy. And when the cops got on the bus, they arrested my man. He was like, "Yo, he was trying to hurt the little girl. I had to stop him." Shut up. Put your hands behind your back. They took him in. They got the other dude, the ambulance. I didn't see them put the cuffs on him. They cuffed my man and put him in the back of the car and arrested him because he stopped the dude from hurting the little girl. right? So you put the desensitized situation that society is in general, right? You get you get to the fact that if you do good, you don't know what good is going to do you, right? Then you get the general wussation of the male population, right? Who don't know who they are.
You made up a real cool new word, man. Wussation.
Yeah, because you know what I wanted to say.
You should have used my old word, man.
What's that one?
Punctified.
Okay. But you know what I didn't use, what we was talking about last week.
The other
Yeah.
P word.
I ain't do that one. But yeah, the wussification, punctified society we live in.
Steph knows.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I know.
So
But I'm getting better. Thank you, Steph.
yeah.
And you put all of that in the mix, and this is what we have now.
Yeah.
We have a society where a woman can be on a train crowded with people, get raped, and not
nobody-
get helped, but get filmed.
Yeah, that's crazy. Ain't
Get
no how,
filmed.
ain't no how Steph Marcus
George
said,
Floyd got filmed.
live from New Dan Legacy in that radio. And it's funny that you say that because cousin Terry says it's very sad that people record instead of helping. However, there are cases that social media helps George Floyd. Ain't no how Steph Marcus J. You guys
No,
on the
it
same.
didn't.
You on the
It
same- you
helped.
on the
It
same-
helped. It helped bring light to it.
Yeah.
But it ain't helped George Floyd
You know,
because he died.
That's
If if 3-4 of them people would have put the phones down and just rushed the police, let it happen. But guess what? If I was there, it would have probably been 2 dead or 2 alive. But I wasn't gonna let that cop or anybody else kill a man in front of me.
You know, I'm with you on that. But the only thing that I will say to that, and I'm not speaking to you generally, specifically, but I will say generally, you know, when we're talking about the police, and I don't want to back and forth on this, so I'm gonna say this, and we're not backing and forth on this. So I'm gonna just say this. You know, we can say that, and I have no doubt that you would step in, but there are plenty who say that. And it reminds me of the Eddie Murphy skit. We were talking about Eddie Murphy earlier in his comedy when he talked about, man, when I was a slave, if I'd have been a slave, man, I would have told the master, you pick up your own belt. Right. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of brothers in 2021 that talk tough about what they would do. And, you know, there's no precedent to show that they have done. And so that, I think, is a problem. And I think
agree.
when we look at the situation with Floyd and some of the others, the police, because of their legacy, like I said, I don't want to back and forth on this because we're going to move on. But there's a legacy of bullying that comes from law enforcement, that the fact that they're standing there over our brethren doing what they're doing with guns and badges while we stand back and we watch it, it's just the same symbolically as when we had these whippings that will go on where as they are whipping our brother in front of us, and instinctively we want to jump in and they throw that whip at us to shoo us back. And so it's a lot of that going on. Ain't no how Steph Marcus J. live from New Dan Legacy in that radio.
I want to say one thing to that. Real quick.
Of course you do.
Real quick. No, real quick.
Of course you
I don't
do.
want anyone to mistake what I'm saying.
Make it quick.
It's not courage or bravery that would move me. It is actually concern for my own safety and my emotional attachment to life itself. If anything, it's my sensitivity, because I ain't that brave. It ain't got nothing to do with courage.
Yeah.
I just want y'all to know that.
I agree. You just go on in and get it because that's the right thing to do, and I respect that.
Compel.
That's a good word. Compel. I can dig it. Ain't no how Steph Marcus J. live from New Dan Legacy and Radio. All right, we got a bunch of comments in here before we move to Georgia. Team Davis is checking us out. I always love it when Team Davis is checking us out. They say all about conditioning been going on for eons, subtle but continuing over the years, like a quote unquote all caps slow burn, end quote. Society psychological conditioning, the same conditioning used for vax and mandates. Cousin Terry says that, and John says that's his point. Cousin Terry says we would act different in the situation. Sue says you never know your reaction until you're actually in the situation, and Terry agrees with her. Ain't no how Steph Marcus J. live from New Dan Legacy and Radio. All right, so Here's another thing that I want to get into, very, very briefly, but consistent with some of the things that we talk about. We know about the situation down in Georgia where the three men tracked down, attacked, and lynched Ahmaud Arbery. They're getting ready to go to trial here coming up, and we're talking about the jury selection in that. We're gonna get to that, but before we do, that's we call that a tease. You like that?
I see. I like
But
it.
before
Yeah.
we do that, we're gonna talk about the kids.
Journalist degree.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Using it, baby.
I went to
using
school for this shit.
it.
I got papers, bro.
lead.
Yeah,
You got
you
the
know what I'm
lead.
saying? Virginia Union, brother. But before we do that,
HBCU.
HBCU. Yeah, the only 4 years of my life when I was in the majority. All right, but before we do that, you got some black kids that got suspended for protests. We're gonna start there. So take a listen to this story, and then we're gonna talk about it. Take a listen.
Selection is underway in the trial of the three men
That's
accused
not
of
the one I
murdering
wanted.
Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia. The cell phone video
happens
capturing
on
the
a-
shooting
Here's
is
the one I
at the
wanted.
center of the high-profile
Here's
case.
the one I wanted. Hold tight.
Planning a protest against racism that they say
Jay
they
Gray
experienced
has a closer
inside
There we
their
go.
school and on
Jury
campus in
selection is
Georgetown.
underway in the trial
This
of
is
the
what
three
started
men
it all.
accused of
Students
murdering
reported
Ahmaud
flying
Arbery in
Confederate
Georgia.
flags and
The cell phone
spewing
video
racial slurs
capturing
on
the shooting
campus
is at the center of the high-profile case. Jay Gray has a closer look.
Millions have seen the disturbing video. 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery shot and killed as he's jogging in rural Georgia. This morning, more than a year and a half after Arbery's death, jury selection begins in the murder trial of Greg and Travis McMichael, a father and son who grabbed their weapons and chased Arbery down, and William Roddy Bryan, a neighbor who joined the pursuit, recording it all on his cell phone. The men telling investigators there'd been burglaries in the area and that they were trying to carry out a
campus line, keeping the student protest line back.
citizen's arrest because they had reasonable and probable
All right, y'all.
grounds
So I got
of
new
suspicion.
technology. So bear with me, right?
The
I'm
killings
gonna
sparked
get this
protests
right.
in
I
Georgia
promise.
and
I
across the
promise.
country.
I'm gonna get this right. All right. So which one did I say I was gonna play first?
In the words of Fat Joe, we hip hop.
Georgia.
We gotta have technical
Oh
difficulties.
yeah. Well, it ain't no
About the students.
it ain't no technical difficulty. It's user error. That was me who messed it up.
But in hip hop, we
Alright.
call it technical
So all right.
difficulties.
So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna start it over. And I'm going to do hold tight. I'm gonna start it over if my computer will allow me.
Jury selection.
All right, here we go.
In the small town of Brunswick, where the trial will take place,
I tell you
saying
what.
they're worried now about
Here we
what
go.
could happen outside the courthouse.
I don't think the locals would do anything. If anything bad happens, it has to be somebody that's not from here, that doesn't take pride in this community.
A community that, like the country, is looking for answers.
I think people want justice. They want, a fair trial for everyone. But, just basically bottom line justice.
Jury selection in the high-profile case could take up to 2 weeks. Jay Gray, NBC News.
Okay, so I got through the technical difficulty. I played that clip first, didn't mean to, but hey, we doing this together. All right, so let's talk about that one first while I pull up the clip on the other
Who we talking about first?
we going to talk about the jury selection first because that's the clip that was
Okay.
able to play while I'm screwing it
So-
up here. So jury selection in the Ahmaud Arbery. One of the biggest deals they were trying to figure out is what's this jury going to look like based on where they are and how we're going to get some fairness. We're in Georgia, and we also have to remember that you had 3 white men that chased down a black dude because they thought that he was burglarizing some stuff when
No,
he
they
was
didn't.
just jogging. He was just jogging. So while I effort the other clip, we're going to talk about this one.
Okay, so I'm gonna just jump in right here. I'm sorry, folks. I apologize to all you good people out here, right? But guess what? It's not gonna be a fair trial because the law is not fair. You people got to stop it with thinking that things are gonna go your way when this criminal justice system is not for you; it's against you, right? that man is entitled. Those men are entitled to a jury of their peers. Guess what that means? That means people who basically look and are like them and are from the community that they are in.
And so is Ahmaud Arbery.
But he's not on trial.
I got you. I
He's
got
not
you.
on trial.
I got you.
You're saying he belonged there as well.
Understand how the law works.
But what I'm saying is, he belongs there as much as they do, which means when we say a jury of the peer, we talking about the demographic of the community.
And of the community.
Yes.
How many black people, how many white people, and what do they consist of?
I agree with you. I'm
in
not
that
disagreeing with you.
community, most of the people are going to be like the two men who did the crime.
I agree.
Right.
I agree.
They are on trial.
Yep.
And based on what they said and based on the laws that govern that community and their rights as white men in that community, I don't think Aubrey's going to get justice because they were wrong.
Oh,
but
I
guess
don't think
what?
he's going to get justice because there's no precedent that says that we ever do.
They
in this
were
kind
wrong.
Of situation.
They were wrong, and so was slavery, but it was legal. They were wrong, and they're probably going to be told that what they did was legal. So again, people, you want to change things, you have to become the change, right? Get out and vote. If your vote is not working, if you are so badly outnumbered by people who are steadfast on your destruction and demise, right? Proceed at your own risk. But I don't want to hear where you live in a town that's 90% racist white and they kill somebody black that you expect everybody else from around the world to come down to your town and protest and get you some justice. My heart goes out to that family and to those people who love that man. It was wrong for him to die. But listen, if there's a Klan meeting within driving distance of where I live that's open to the public and they put up signs, I'm probably gonna move. If there's not enough, I'm not gonna say non-racist white. If there's not enough educated, common sense white folks around to say that, nah, you don't kill a dude for jogging. A guy can't be burglarized in place and he don't got no burglar's bag, no burglar's tool, no mask, no gloves. He's just jogging, minding his business. And it's two of y'all didn't even have to shoot him. You could have held him down and called the police. All of these things make sense to people with sense. If y'all don't got enough people around you with that much sense and these dudes get off and go, don't start protesting in the streets and then do stuff for the cops to come and shoot y'all. Move. Or be quiet until you can move. Or just stop complaining. You're in a bad spot.
What you
until
think,
you
sir?
can figure it out.
What you think?
So when I think several things. One, I'm always interested in like crime podcasts and crime TV and Dateline and 2020, all those things. I'm just always curious. I find it enlightening when they get into these crimes and they talk about small towns and they'll say, oh, these things never happen here. Brunswick is a small town with a very high crime rate. And these are people, it's ironic to me that a place that I think they said 1 in 16 people are going to be victims of violent or property crime. Violent crime or property crime.
Brownsville.
At Brunswick,
No,
Georgia.
Brunswick,
You talk about like Brownsville,
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Yeah, they're right there on point. You know what I'm saying? And yet people would say, well, it's in the South. It's safe. Things like that never happen here. I can't tell you how many episodes of Snapped or the Killer Next Door
First 48.
or all these things. Not necessarily so much First 48, but Oxygen. If you sit there and just watch Oxygen TV. The irony is everything starts off. Nothing ever happens in this small town.
Shout out to my sister Asia. That's all she watches. Man.
And she probably would agree with me. Nothing ever happens in these small towns, yet all the stories are in these small towns. And all the time I've been watching Snapped, very rarely I saw one that was in Harlem. and the rest are always in.
And they was like, yeah, this stuff happens every day.
Yeah,
right
yeah.
here.
No, it really was more of like a crime of domestic violence.
Yeah.
But I say that to say people already are creating their narratives, right? So to us who are outside of the community, they're saying, you even heard that lady say it. If crime comes here, it must be from other people because things like this don't happen here. Yes, it does. Your chances of being a victim of property crime in Georgia is 1 in 42. In Brunswick, it's 1 in 20. So immediately the narrative is if anyone here is bothered by the outcome, whether it's for the good or for the negative, however you believe it, they couldn't possibly be from here because we're just good old people down here in Brunswick, Georgia. And no, your crime tells us something different about you. It tells us something very different. So that's the first narrative they're going to create. They're creating. This is a good old town with good old people.
And good old boys who going to let them other good old boys go.
And well, and they're not saying that, but the spin that they'll give there is because we're good people, you can trust us on our verdict.
Right.
Because we're good people. We wouldn't do anything like that.
They thought they were doing good.
The next thing is they've already started to create the narrative around why Ahmaud was shot. And Travis, the son, is saying, I had no choice. He grabbed the gun. It was self-defense. And because there is so much of the tussle back and forth that occurs on the other side of the truck where there is no camera, they're using that to their advantage. And now he's using I was afraid for my life. Do we all think that's BS? Absolutely. But things like this always start with a narrative because you got to start to swing public perception. You got to make the public comfortable with the narrative, not just the narrative you're going to push, but with the expectations of where you think the jury is going to land. And to your point, they believe this jury is going to land in a space that makes the Arbery family feel like garbage because they are likely not to get justice. Now, I think the harder part is 1 in every 5 person. There was 600 people called to jury duty to this gymnasium. There's so many people, they put them in a gymnasium. That's 1 in every 5 people there. The environment is overwhelmingly split by the proverbial railroad tracks. It's going to be more likely that people who don't look like Ahmaud Arbery, which means in this country, a jury of your peers needs to look like you. There's too much systemic racism, and we are too split down the lines in the sense of understanding how people live, how people are impacted. This is why they don't want us to talk about basic things such as Ruby Bridges going off to school and being attacked by older white people. They don't want these conversations because they know that we are living in 2 very different Americas. It is going to be next to impossible for this jury to reflect Ahmaud Arbery's peers. And if you're not going in front of a jury of your peer, the peers that are going to be on that jury are going to be the peers of the McMichaels and the peers of the dude that thought he needed to record this but didn't want to help. That actually helped capture him, so to speak.
So you said something real interesting. I'm going to be real quick with this. The narrative is, I feared for my life because he grabbed my gun.
Yes.
Okay. He didn't fear for his life. But here we go. He didn't fear for his life because you pulled the gun on him. Right. He didn't pull the gun on you.
But
you pulled the gun on him, right?
Yes.
So it's not reasonable that he feared for his life. That's why he grabbed the gun.
But that's the whole
point.
point.
You had the gun and got scared and you had to shoot him. You didn't have to pull the gun because he didn't have a gun.
Again, that's the whole point.
But
that level of logic is not even necessary because they are afforded the right to be afraid. They are afforded the right to be perceived as the victim whenever faced with blackness. And so Ahmaud simply being in this community, you don't belong here, Negro. Where are your papers? So simply him being present in an environment that they have deemed theirs, never mind that it's a free country, quote unquote, and we should be able to walk and live and breathe wherever we want to.
If you got a vaccine card.
They are, well, hell, if that's what's necessary. They are already positioning it where, hey, listen, America, there are some people that by the nature of who they are a threat in our environments. We felt that threat. We came out to protect ourselves from it. We came out to make sure that we were not going to be taken advantage of. And then, if I approach you with a gun, I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of you. I am a firearm owner. I'm not walking outside of my home looking for problems. It's not there. If I get into a car with a firearm, or I come outside with a firearm and I'm chasing you down, immediately the threat isn't you, it's me. I'm coming for you.
You're the aggressor because you have the weapon.
And I'm not afraid.
You're the aggressor because you're black.
And I'm not afraid. But in this case, because they understand Brunswick, they understand it so significantly that this was not going to be a matter of an issue at all, because the DA in that area had already determined that these two friends of hers were not going to be arrested. She's up on charges right now.
Yep.
1, 2, they'd already determined this wasn't going to be an issue. And it tells you, I hate to say this, and it speaks to John's point. It tells you about the weakness and the passivity of the people in that community that look like us. In that you had to have national outrage before this became a thing.
Before you even
Where was the community to come out? You're not sleeping at night. I'm standing in front of your house. All of us are here.
I'm gonna tell you where the community was. They tired. They beaten.
And afraid.
There's that church.
They're tired. They're beaten. They're afraid. They've seen a lot. We live in a country. And look, I'm not making excuses. I'm just telling you.
And I agree with you. I just think it's crazy.
We live in a country where we can watch Eric Garner get choked out in front of us on camera, and we say, well, he should have complied. We live in a country where we can see George Floyd with a knee in his neck for 9 minutes and say, well, he had drugs in his system. We live in a country where both and John is in his home, and a lady knocks on the wrong door, comes into his house, and kills him. He died. We live in a country where Breonna is in her bed with her boyfriend. They roll up on her. She dies, and no one pays for her death. But someone was charged with the bullets that were meant for her that went into a neighboring apartment. So this is what we deal with. And all of these cases are just in the last few years, right? So I am not making excuses for the black people in Brunswick County. I'm not about making excuses for nobody, not even myself. But it sometimes takes a village, and that is what happened here. It took the village of black folks around this entire country to say, hold up, man. Y'all see what just happened here? My brother down there is tired. I got to go and stand up for him. So that's what happened here. When I look at what's going on with this jury selection, I'll be honest with you, man. Hakeem made the point earlier about, still looking at folks and expecting them to think and do the right thing. I don't expect nobody to do the right thing. I don't expect nobody to do the right. We live in a country that elected Donald Trump after he was grabbing pussies.
And bragging about it.
And bragged about it. So I began my checkout then. And so, as I was saying to John, before we even turn this stuff on, these microphones and communicating with y'all, what did I say? Like I always say, I quote K-Dub, brilliant philosopher, my oldest friend. Create the world that you want to live in. But then you see cases like this that show you that while you're creating the world that you want to live in, sometimes somebody comes from outside and disturbs your peace. And if you know me, at this stage in my life, I'm all about peace. You fuck with my peace, it's a problem. And this is what happened down there. This is the country. This is the community. This is the village of black folks says, you fucking with our peace. Brunswick County. And that's why we rallied around those people. 10 years before that, it was Gina. You know what I'm saying? So as a country, we're gonna come together. What's going to happen?
Let me
rephrase that. As a community of black folk, when we see oppression, we're gonna try to come together. Our problem is after we've washed that T-shirt a few times, we don't put it on no more. We don't put it on no more. You know what I'm saying? That's our problem. So I want to see what's going to happen here, because at the end of the day, that clip that I just played for you, that told you all you need to know about them people down there in that town. They don't care. They don't think that what went on was anything wrong with it. That's their people. These two, this father and son, and a friend who filmed it, who's trying to distance himself. If you saw the video of him right after it, he told you, yo, I got in the car when I was with him. You know, we couldn't stop him. He tried, we backed out. I had the camera. Like, he telling you, he telling you. And then all of a sudden, we supposed to be shocked when they charged him.
So
come on.
So I only disagree with one thing you said, Marcus.
I'm used to that.
But no, I'm gonna tell you what it is, and I think you may join me in this.
Probably.
It ain't that we washed the T-shirt and then we don't want to wear it no more. It's the fact that we think wearing the T-shirt gonna make a difference.
Yeah.
The stuff that
you had to just go and mess up my analogy.
No.
Perfect analogy. I had set up perfect.
It
didn't need no dressing.
But I need
nothing.
to get.
You ain't putting no hot sauce on it. It didn't need no salt. Tabasco. It didn't need none.
But I need to get.
Had to go
the reason I need to get to this is
John sauce.
Because listen, they feed us our protests. They feed us what is our injustice. They feed us what to do, and we take it in and we use it. Protesting, wearing T-shirts, having having him and Al Sharpton come down, don't do nothing. The only thing that you can do to affect a change in your community is vote.
I don't agree with that.
Listen, protesting brings eyes, right?
I don't agree with that, but I also don't want to spend the time on it. So you said it, I'll address it, and then we'll move on from it. What I will say to you is this: Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, Ben Crump, people like them take the light, shine it on a situation that you would have never heard of, and that family that had no voice before now has a voice. Now, what happens after that is
my point.
Is probably
they get heard, they get seen, and nothing changes.
Would you prefer not to be
I
heard
want
and
change.
Seen? Would you prefer that we never heard of the case of Ahmaud Arbery and nobody does nothing? We're not even talking about jury selection now, because it took that type of thing for that story to become a national story for these men to be charged. So you still want to plant your flag on that mountain? Going there means nothing?
Let me plant my flag. Let me plant my flag here, right? If I had to exchange it for actual change, I would.
Well, you might now have the possibility of change where before you had nothing.
So then it's not a possibility. It's not possible. We spent the previous 15 minutes explaining why it's not possible. Nothing's going to change. Those guys are going to get off.
I mean,
until people vote people out of office, it's not going to change.
I understand the apathy. I do. I share the apathy. I speak of that apathy. I am one who most of my rhetoric is based in the apathy that you're speaking of. However, I do not agree that folks like them are not necessary.
That was harsh. I retract that.
There it is. We don't even have to go further. Ain't no hostile Marcus J. Live from New Day Legacy in the radio. Richard says humanity has lost its humility on the present course of self-destruction. I agree with that. Cousin Terry says, as a parent of an incarcerated black man, I witnessed there was no jury of his peers. He was 21 years old with a jury of 60-year-old non-blacks. The jury most likely will be the same. She's speaking from her personal truth. I got nothing for that. I understand. And I miss and I love the superstar. Ain't no hostile Marcus J. Live from New Den, Legacy in their radio. While we're in this vein, we're going to talk now about the students in Georgia that was suspended for protesting. This was 10 minutes ago when I was having all of those technical difficulties. I think I finally got it together. let's go ahead and take a listen to this. And let's get it, folks. Let's get it.
Students tell us these students behind me aren't taking a skip day. They're actually suspended from school for planning a protest against racism that they say they experience inside their school and on campus in Floyd County. This is what started it off. Students reportedly flying Confederate flags and spewing racial slurs on campus at Cusah High School earlier this week. The Black students and white and Latino classmates spoke up and planned a protest against racism.
I felt really disrespected how the school didn't do anything about it. And when we're not allowed to wear BLM stuff all over our stuff, and then they are allowed to carry a racist flag around.
Early Friday morning, police had the campus lined, keeping the student protest line back. Administration had warned the day before it would clamp down, making this announcement.
The administration is aware of tomorrow's planned protest. Activities of this kind will not be allowed here at Cusah High School.
The announcement threatened disciplinary action for even having a flyer announcing the protest.
Only for my mother is here.
Students tell us they were suspended from making protest plans and arguing with the administration about racial slurs and the flag. But students say those suspensions were only for certain kids, Black students.
All the African Americans that was up there, they suspended them. They didn't suspend me. They didn't suspend her either, and we both disrupted all the 8th grade classes.
Their parents tell us they were served suspension papers not only by the principal, but by police. I made multiple calls to the school district with no response, so I looked into the state data for suspensions in Floyd County. In 2020, it breaks it down by race. 8% of Black students were suspended, the highest number. 6% were 2 or more races, 4% white, 2% Hispanic. These students saying they want all of that to change. The parents tell us they're upset to know their complaints have gone unresolved so far, and now their kids will have to miss homecoming after being suspended from school. We'll have more from the school's leadership on our CBS 46 app. Reporting in Floyd County, Haley Mason, CBS 46 News.
All right, so if we're hearing that right, these babies got suspended for a planned protest.
Right.
That sound about right to you, Steph?
That's right.
What you got, man? What's your thoughts, man? I mean, John, Steph, this one right here.
Listen,
Let him go. No, go ahead, John. Go. I got time. Go ahead.
please forgive me, ladies first.
No,
I'm sorry,
please.
All right, you got the con. Go
I'm
for it, John.
acquiescing. There
All
you
right,
go.
go ahead, John.
Okay, so listen.
We love you, man.
I don't even understand what the problem is here, because like my child wouldn't be at that school.
Hey, look, I got the
Right?
nervous giggle on this.
My child would not be. I remember one time going to school for my son, and he went to I don't know, at one time, I think it was predominantly non-black. I'd put it like this: predominantly non-black public school. And whatever was going on, it wasn't a racial thing, but it was something going on. When I got to the school, they told me that I should look into special education for my son, that he needed special education. And I looked at them and I said, well, what made you say that? Well, they gave me a couple of reasons and so on and so forth. And basically I said to them, well, sounds to me like y'all are incompetent at doing your job. You're supposed to be able to deal with this. I don't even know why I'm up here for this. This is not something that they said, well, we're not the child's parent, we're the teacher. I said, well, teach. Well, he's not letting us. Well, what is he doing that stops you from teaching? And nobody can tell me what he was doing that stopped him from teaching, other than asking a question about what was going on. So, needless to say, my son has 2 college degrees. He didn't need special education. This is the same kind of situation. No, I don't know how many black folks was on the school board. Right. I don't know how many. What state is that in? The county. What state is that?
That was Georgia.
That's also good old Georgia. So, yeah. Stone Mountain. Anyway, people are not involved in the local body politic, right? And have a misunderstanding of their responsibility when it comes to their own survival, right? The children were not allowed to protest, but the other children were allowed to fly the Confederate flag. of the people protesting, only the black children got suspended. White children who did the exact same thing and were probably more boisterous because they felt like they could be, did not get suspended. 8% of the suspensions of the student body, which is the highest number of black children. But I'm almost sure that they are not the highest percentage of the student body. So that 8% is actually a much greater number when considered that they are the minority within the student body. Right? But again, I don't know what to say. Who's your mayor? Right? I know who, your governor is, right? And I understand how the guy who won the election was also in charge of the the voting. And this is where y'all choose to live, where the guy who runs the election, that's like saying a guy in the fight is also judge number 2 and 3. Right? And that's where y'all choose to live because y'all got pride. Y'all got pride in the place where they will shoot you, beat you, and torment your children. But you got pride in that place because I was born here and I have pride in the fact that these white people will keep oppressing us and steal elections from us. And I don't know what to tell you.
Hashtag Marcus J. Live from New Den Legacy and that radio. Steph, you'll take the final word as we move towards the end of the show.
Yeah, I just think that inequities in punishments, where they're meted out, who they lean toward, has long been a conversation. I can remember a few years back when the school resource officer basically attacked the young black girl in the classroom. And there was a large discussion about how black girls are disproportionately expelled. And are just as much a part of the prisoner pipeline attempt. And you see in this, I think for me in this conversation, I think about the town in Texas where you have people going crazy about critical race theory and feeling like there is no need to teach standard historically documented experience of Black Americans. There's no reason to discuss it. They're going crazy. Now you get to a town where people are literally allowed to come to school, say the N-word, fly the Confederate flag, but you aren't allowed to have an opposing view. They want to teach an opposing view of the Holocaust. They want to teach the opposing view of slavery out in Texas. If you teach this view, you have to, I don't know what the opposing view would be except for more supremacy and validating supremacy. Seeing this is just why people need to start showing up. It's not just the voting at the when it's time to vote for your governor, your city council. It's going to school board meetings. These folks are showing up at these school board meetings and showing out in a way that is contrary to the rights and the rightful experiences of others. And they're going in there on the basis of flawed politics. But our parents are not showing up to let people know that every time you do this, we're going to be here. We need to show up at these meetings. And I mean, if you live in an area where you care about Black children, but you don't have any children in the school system, show up. They need your voice too. Sometimes they need your voice without the emotion of having children in the mix. They need you to be able to hear why things are wrong or being misinterpreted or punishments are being meted out higher to certain people than others. These school board meetings are getting lit. And if you guys don't see a reason to be at them, I don't know what to say to you.
Yeah.
My children don't go to school, right? They are adults.
Right.
I can't imagine them going to a school, my daughter deciding to take part in a protest, and me not being able to galvanize a bunch of women who think like me and have them out in front of that school and then show up at the school board. Every single woman that had a daughter, every single man that had a daughter that was suspended for this particular issue should invite 10 to 15 friends to come to the next school board meeting with them.
And let's talk about why y'all suspended my kids.
And
let's
tell me to my face.
Tell me why you did it.
And help me. And also, while you're doing that, give me a realistic explanation for why the kids saying the N-word and carrying the Confederate flag were not suspended and were not held accountable. I already know, but now I'm standing here to hold you accountable.
But you know what it is?
With a
though?
camera.
I've gotten to the point.
With a camera.
I've gotten to the point now in my life where showing white people their racism doesn't even matter anymore, because you got the "I'm not racist, I can't believe you said that to me" white people, and then you got the ones that will say that to your face and continue to bullshit. And these are the people who would say that, "Oh, well, I'm not a racist, I got a black friend," and then continue to bullshit. Like, these are those people.
Sure.
Like, we know these are those people. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't confront them, but it does mean that you need to know what it is, because we've got enough history and precedent in our country to know that it ain't even going to matter. You got to fight it. You got to fight it.
Yeah, and you got to show up.
You got to.
I don't need to explain
up.
anything to you, but I'm here so you
But
know
this one right
you can't
here,
mess with mine.
This one right here, like Dylan Roof rolling up in a black church and hanging out with them for an hour before he shot up everybody and said it was on some
everybody at the cookout.
You know what I'm saying? Like like we know. And we get to the point where we try to act like we don't know, and we do the kumbaya thing. And I could dig it, man. I'm all about peace and love.
Because we want to be excited when somebody likes us.
I want to rock with everybody who wants to rock with me, but you can see the difference in the energy that I'm giving. I got the X hat, and you know the stereotype with him, and I'm all about the peace and love. I'm about peace and love and compassion and empathy and all that for people who will reciprocate. Same energy. Same energy.
All
because
the
if your
time.
energy for me is fuck Marcus, I promise you, I'm giving it back. You know what I'm saying? And that is what I want to say about a situation like this. Ain't no how Steppin Marcus J, live from New Dan Legacy and that radio. All right. So we got probably about 10 minutes before we need to move to the end of the show. So before we do that, I got one more thing. I know I said that this was the last thing, but I just love y'all so much. I just want to talk to y'all and share John and stuff with y'all because they're great. I just happen to be along for the ride. But John, I want to talk a little bit about the president that President Biden right now, because he started off high as far as how his approval rating was. People rock with him. You know, he came out with, you know, the COVID plan that was so radically different from his predecessor. It appeared to show him at least trying to do something, which there's something to be said for that at the time. Now, there are less people that are rocking with Joe Biden than there were just a few months ago, a few weeks, a few months ago. And it makes me nervous about the prospect for the future. I know that you share those sentiments. I want you to talk to us a little bit about your thoughts on what I just laid out and any tentacles that you want to kind of follow with regards to this line of conversation.
So Joe Biden received in the 2020 election, he received 81 million and some change with votes. Trump got 76, 75, basically a little less than 6 million votes more is what Joe Biden received in the popular vote. The effect of those 6 million votes in the key battle states with regard to delegates was substantial. It was everything. You can basically count those votes almost to the vote of Black people. Black people got Trump out of office. Period. The only time more black people came out to vote was for Obama. We voted at 67%. And for Obama, it was 71. Normally, it's 50 or a little lower. All right? They showed up, showed out, did their best to get it done for, I don't want to say for Biden. It was a little bit for Harris and a whole lot to get rid of Trump. And the body politic, those guys, those black folks got behind Biden because he's a longtime friend of theirs. What's up, Scooter? I don't know if y'all remember that. Only real politic junkies like myself remember. What's up, Scooter? Where's Scooter? So
Scooter Libby?
No. It's a dude who was a big part of the Congressional Black Caucus and the NAACP, who Biden was calling out by name when he was campaigning with Obama.
Okay.
When he said they took the chains from around our necks and put them around our brains or something like that. That's part of that speech. He said, Scooter, where's Scooter? Scooter, my man. Like that kind of.
Damn.
All right. So, yeah, that's Biden. So Biden made a lot of promises to black people, and people went out and supported him. Right? His approval rating among blacks was above 80%. Right? He's in Obama territory. He hasn't kept not one promise. Not only has he not kept promises, he doesn't even speak about the promises he made. Kamala Harris, love her, but she's been absent in office. Nobody's even heard from her, not a word about anything. So now support for approval for Biden is below 45% among black voters. And what that will translate to is black voters staying home in 2022. And what that will mean is the fact that we lost seats in the House and we got a 50-50 split in the Senate. And when I say, and Marcus called me on this, when I say we, I'm talking about people who don't mess with Trump versus people who do mess with Trump. It's no longer Democrat and Republican. We're not going to even go there because most of the people in this country have no idea what the hell I'm talking about when I say Democrat and Republican. They have no idea. So we just say people who mess with Trump and people who don't mess with Trump. So in 2022, do expect, now we expect it now. As soon as we're going to lose the House, right? The 50-50 split in the Senate will be over because black people are not going to come out to vote. If Biden decides, I do not believe that Kamala Harris has the political cachet to win a general. Biden may or may not run, but if he does run, black people are not going to vote for him again. So he's going to lose because they were the difference of him winning this time. Trump will run again. Trump will win. And the fact that Biden will not have the House or the Senate means for the rest of his term, he's going to be lame anyway. So now we're going to have 4 more years of Trump. We're going to lose state houses all over the country. So that means governors like in Georgia can say, no, he can go find Trump some votes. Because that's the new thing now. People who went, every Republican who stood up against Trump in the madness that he tried to do with saying, go find me votes and all this kind of stuff, they've been politically destroyed. They're no longer around. Those who voted to impeach him, those who went against him, they're either out of office or refuse to run again. They're gone. So now we get 4 more years of Trump. He's going to have the House and the Senate. He's probably going to appoint another 2, or at least 1 more Supreme Court justice who will be also a staunch Trump supporter. So what that means is Voting Rights Act, it's over. Police reform, that's also over. And what it also means is, people are going to be able to shoot you while you're jogging and get away with it, because your governor and your state house is going to make sure it's that way. Sold to the poll, done. Early voting, over. Matter of fact, why bother? Because if we do lose, we'll just find some votes, because that's the way Trump goes with it. So I need you all to think about that in this time and what's going on.
You said a lot, Steph. You said a lot. I will say this. I think black folks would vote for Joe Biden if his opponent is Donald Trump. Because that is probably the realest lesser of two evils that I've seen. Anybody who would run against Donald Trump, except for Hillary Clinton in 2020, what is it, 4, is probably going to, because I think we overestimate and romanticize his current pull on our people. I think there are enough people in this country.
Who's pull?
I'm not finished, man.
But you said
let me
his.
finish,
Who
man.
is it? Trump or Biden? You're talking about?
Can you let me finish?
All right.
I'll tell you. I'm talking about Donald Trump.
Okay.
And I'm thinking that there are enough people in this country who realize his bullshit now that I don't think that he'll ever win an elected office again. I think that's impossible. Now, I think it's possible that he can influence other people and they might win their offices, but I don't think that he can win an elected office again. I just don't see it. So while I see your doom and gloom example of what can happen in 2024, I don't see it. I think that he is toxic enough on a national level that he wouldn't win a national office again. No, I've been following it now. I don't watch the news every day the way I used to, but I just don't. I don't see how there are enough people in this country that will vote for him again, knowing what we know and knowing what we've seen.
He's more popular than Ronald Reagan right now.
Yeah.
Right? He's more popular than Ronald Reagan. And when black people feel defeated, like I said, Biden is less than 45% approval. When black people feel defeated, they stay home.
Well, that's
they
true
will
too.
not see hope in Biden.
That's true. That's true. I mean, if
Trump is alive, he is the Republican candidate for 2024.
I suppose if to move away from where I was to move to where you are, you have to have a colossal amount of apathy. And I think that apathy won't be there when you're looking at the prospect of dealing with Donald Trump for another 4 years. I think that would be enough. I don't know that we've seen situations where voting for someone is stronger than voting against someone. I think this would be a situation where voting against someone would be as strong.
5 seconds. To your point, create a life where none of this matters to you.
Yeah.
The black people who vote are leaning that way.
Leaning what way?
To making their life
to
where it don't matter. And guess what they're going to do? Stay home because they do not like Biden.
All right, what you got, Steph?
I don't agree that I think voter turnout will be lower. I don't think that it's going to be that drastically lower. I do agree that Trump could win again. I think that he could because he's not really losing any support among those people, and Biden doesn't have enough room to give. And because Biden doesn't have enough room to give, but has done enough, or is perceived, so this is the problem with politics. I hate this because I feel like I'm gonna feel kind of Johnish on this.
Oh no!
Okay.
Oh no!
We have a new term, Johnish. People, put it in your in your Rolodex and your lexicon. Johnish.
I'm about to get a little Johnish.
Okay.
This is a brown skin John moment. So people are not smart enough to understand the nuance of politics in a way that they will be able to gather the understanding of the good that he has done and is working on. They will only see the surface level issues that are going to be presented to them, and they are going to make their decisions and their movements based on that. And so these are those. This is when, I'm a firm. You know me. I'm a firm believer in anything could be branded or sold. Anything could be branded or sold. I think I could sell vodka to Christians. Anything could be branded or
they get lit.
sold. They getting it in anyway.
Yeah,
they drinking
they get
makers.
lit.
They drinking makers. But the reason I say that, and I guess I should say vodka to evangelicals. But the reason that I think that what John is saying, the decline in Black votership, this next go round, and not just the next presidential campaign, but there's a lot of senators whose seats are up, governors, the governor's race here, everyone is talking about
Please
nationally.
vote.
Everyone's
Jesus.
talking about that race, the Virginia gubernatorial race nationally, and still. And the reason they're talking about it is because it's so close. So it's so close. It's shocking how close it is for a state that just was like, we're not playing with Trump. They're willing to play footsie with one of Trump's boys, which tells me absolutely Trump could get elected. But I want to go back to my point, which was the problem is that people are not smart enough to pay attention to the nuance of politics. So they make their decisions and carry their grievances on the basis of the more surface level situations, right? So they're going to say he didn't get this $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill passed. And I would say that bill is a good bill. There's a lot of things built in there that really, if they presented it a certain way, most people would go for. Most people would go for. There's more human infrastructure than you would expect in that bill. And there's a lot that goes into children and households, a lot. But they went around promoting the cost of the bill. We're going to get the biggest bill ever, and mentioned the 3.5 trillion. So now the perception is you overplayed your hand, you asked for too much money, and that's why it's not passing. When in truth, it really is everything that's in there, for the most part, the majority of it in there needs to be in there in order to accomplish certain things, and is not going to pass.
They need more money.
Is not going to pass. Good point. Because the Republicans are hinging it on it's too expensive, and the Democrats are not talking about what's in it. It's kind of like, you will pay for something. You'd pay if you had bunions on your feet and someone said these shoes are going to make you feel better. These shoes are going to make you walk perfectly. They're going to heal your bunions. You won't have to worry about it, and you'll never have foot problems again. However, the shoes are $1,500. You would find a way to pay for them because they're solving a problem. We're not selling the solution. We're selling the price. That's the problem. As a professional salesperson, that's the primary problem with that.
The product is
the product's fine. The product is fine. But selling it on the price is the problem.
Yeah, they're saying buy this Hyundai for $80,000, but they're not telling you how good it is.
Well,
and they're not saying, oh, but they're about to. Did you say you I'll give you the Rolls Royce Culligan, which is $500,000. I get that to you for 80. Oh, I got a deal. But if you want to pay 80 for the Hyundai, oh, you're getting robbed.
Well,
no, you don't know what you're buying.
And I still go back to, it's not even that they're selling the Hyundai. They are right away selling the price of the Hyundai. They haven't even gotten to the Hyundai yet. They haven't even told us what's in the vehicle or what it is. That's the first part. Second part, and I'm gonna get to it quickly. Second part is that we're now looking at a situation where Biden is his poll numbers are dropping because the temperature of the Black American public is one. I'm exhausted, dude. I'm tired of the BS. I'm over it. And every time I turn on the TV, I got to hear about one more state, even if I don't live in it, one more state that I could never live in because you didn't make things happen with voters' rights. And our Black asses came to the polls and said, we're going to vote for the guy who stood in Georgia and in Atlanta and talked to my sorors and everyone else and said, I'm going to do these things. And you didn't do it. And then I saw you shipping Haitians out by the plane load. So now I'm questioning. And I saw people whipping them. So now I'm questioning your commitment to my community. Oh, and then by the way, You let the George Floyd act go away. So now this is real personal.
Took $38 billion out of the $40 billion away from the HBCUs.
And now that's coming. So what's compounding is Black people are fatigued, tired of the promises, and now seeing that having Kamala there isn't helping. Now seeing that the truth of the presidency, no matter who the president is, unless you're Donald Trump and willing to ride roughshod over people, the truth of the presidency is you only have as much power as your senators and congressional members allow you to have and come to bat for. And he's not, and he marched and walked and said, I'm going to bring people together. Well, you're not whipping the vote, sir.
Yeah.
And the way you're, and the lack of whipping the vote has, Black folk may not know what's in that $3.5 trillion bill, but they do know that you're allowing voting rights to be trampled on, that you're coming for women's human health rights. You're not standing up for that, that civil rights of Black people are continuously being trampled on, and that the HBCUs, which by the way, Black women are continuing to keep in business because they keep going to college, y'all. Yeah. And now you don't want to give money there.
Yeah.
So for Black people, some things it is very surface level, and it's important that it is. Yeah. It's important that they turn on the TV and see that you're treating these Haitians very differently than you would ever treat a Cuban. It's important that they turn on the TV.
I like Cuban. If it was a dark Cuban, they'd catch it.
They would catch them. Yeah, but the dark Cubans are not the ones who are migrating here for the most part. They're not getting out in those droves. And when I lived in Florida, it used to be on the news all the time. It's shocking to me when I moved outside of Florida that you don't see it on the news as much. But boatloads
that
of
was
Cubans
the foot
come
on,
in.
That was the foot on the shore time. Yes. Once you got your foot on the shore, you was good.
You were good to go.
Yeah.
So now you have this popularity. The drop is directly related to the fact that a lot of Black people consume politics at a very surface level with their eyes and with their emotions. Yep. And I'm not saying that it's wrong, because for so long they have gotten nothing, that now emotional plays are what is pulling us in. And the emotional play, rightfully in this case, is you're not giving us anything, dude.
I think you're right on it. I think you're right on it, Steph. Just to kind of add to it, I think that when you mentioned earlier, we're just tired. I mean, we're tired. And
exhausted.
If you look back at the election cycles, if you go back to 1960, with the election of President Kennedy, it's been ebb and flow. You go Republican, Democrat for a couple of years, then Democrat, and Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat. It's the ebb and flow, and it's always been that way. And, it's almost like when you watch the game and you want to see your team win. As a Giants fan, I understand that. Our arch rival would be the Washington football team and the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. We beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl twice, so not quite them, because we always get over them.
We did what we needed to.
the analogy that I'm working with here is that we watch it like we would watch a sporting event. We're gonna vote for Biden. And with all due respect, the average person is not savvy enough to even know why you should be voting for Joe Biden. You just see the blue D next to his name, and that's the way you're supposed to go. And now, because you've been taught and you've been trained that the Democrats gonna come through for you. Now, people our age, we've gotten to the point where we've seen enough. We went through 8 years of Barack Obama, and we went through 8 years of Bill Clinton in our adult lives. Both of those terms were, I voted at the beginning of both of those terms. That's 16 years of my life, for the people that I voted for, and how much different is my life. When you look at Bill Clinton
on their behalf, everything you have really is you. They didn't do anything.
Is what I'm getting, which is I'm getting to. 8 years of Bill Clinton, and more Black men went to prison under his term than at any time in history. And then you look at Barack Obama, and you can make an argument that the biggest thing that came out of his term is the fact that we had a Black president. So you know, if you look at a 47-year-old black man who is, by his own admission, jaded as fuck, I'm looking at Joe Biden's like, bruh, you gonna be 80 years old on your next birthday. You know what I'm saying? I don't know too many energetic 80-year-olds. I know a bunch that smile nice and say the right shit. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know a whole lot that could do a whole lot for me. So yeah, you got the blue D next to you. And Donald Trump running against him, you know, the more I hear y'all talk, the more I'm like, yo, if you run against Joe Biden, it might just be a coin. It might just be a coin toss, which, like, you stop me and I'll stop me and I'll go and say, as I quote my brother K-Dub, as I say at least once every show, create the world that you want to live in. Because if you sitting around waiting for these jokers and these rascals and these shysters and these criminals, you know, even the ones you like is a freaking criminal on some level because they done some stuff that you don't know under the guise of being an elected official for you, which we know is bullshit. But I'm not going to stay on the soapbox. I'll just say this. I am not surprised that his rating is down. I agree in the rare moment, 100% with John and 100% with Steph, in the sense that, you know, what have you done for me lately? And are we voting for you because you are not Donald Trump? Most black people who are going to vote in 2024, if it's Donald Trump, them jokers will vote for Mickey Mouse. them jokers will vote for Curtis Jackson. Okay? You know, they will vote for Sean Carter. They might vote for Dave Chappelle. No, I ain't gonna vote for Kanye.
I don't know. Yeah, Kanye. Yeah, he went off the rails today.
Hey, look, if it's
today.
Kanye, I might just be a Trump supporter my damn self. Ain't no ask Devin with Marcus J. No, I won't. Ain't no, I won't. Ain't no ask Marcus J. live from New Dan Legacy and Red. All right, so we're gonna take our final turn here and move towards our moment in Black history. We'll do our missing children, and then we will get our rants and our closes in. And first of all, thank y'all. Y'all rocked with us. And Terry says Jay-Z for president. And Sue before that says, and why is that behavior at a school not deemed a threat? So she's going back to what we were talking about earlier. All right, so moment in Black history. Let's start in 1871. President Ulysses Grant declares martial law in South Carolina due to widespread Ku Klux Klan violence. Okay. 1960, Martin Luther King Jr. joins a sit-in protest in the department store in downtown Atlanta and is arrested with 51 others for attempting to desegregate the city's stores and restaurants. I still bug out, yo. I do this shit every week. I still bug, like, in my family's lifetime, like, it's people that we know that's still alive. You know what I'm saying? My father was 18 in 1960. And he's old enough. Like, y'all gonna tell me the racism ain't real and that, like, we tripping and we can talk to people who remembers this stuff? You know what I'm saying? Oh, that was old history. Yeah, you talking about my grandma. Like, I remember the meme that said that. Like you legit is talking about these people's grandmas. 1956, 21 people in Tallahassee are sentenced to jail for operating a carpool and supporting those boycotting the city's segregated buses. Hold on, wait a minute. You go to jail for supporting a carpool?
Yep.
And we only talking about 65 years ago. Like, again, our parents were alive during those days. You really talking about that much difference?
You could not do anything but use the bus or walk.
1958. After refusing to accept black lawyers as members, District of Columbia Bar Association votes to change the policy. Oh, thank you.
What year was that done?
1958. Ain't no half stepper. With Marcus J. Live from New Den. Legacy Internet Radio at the time of the show. My least favorite time of the show, where we profile missing and or exploited children. Tonight we have 3. We will be looking for Chesterfield County, Richmond City, and Henrico, 3 major points of interest here in the capital city area of Virginia. We'll start with the brother. Young Cleveland Peoples is missing from Henrico County here in Richmond. 16-year-old black male. He's 5'8", 280. Last seen on October 13th wearing a black shirt, black shorts, black Crocs. He goes by the middle name Tion. If located, please use caution. I don't think I've ever seen that before, but use caution. If you've seen Cleveland Peoples, please contact the National Center for Missing and or Exploited Children. Their website, missingkids.org, or the Henrico County Police Department at 804-501-5000. We're looking for Tiana Freeman. October 2nd is her missing date from here in Richmond, Virginia. We call it RVA, Cap City, whatever it is you want to call it. She's a black female. She's 5'7", 125. Last seen wearing a gray t-shirt, black jeans, blue Nike shower shoes. She's got a tattoo on her left wrist of the top, paws, and plays cymbals. She's known to hang out in the Wickham Court, Jackson Ward areas in Richmond, Virginia. The real serious irony of that last piece, and that just kind of gave me a little bit of a chill even reading it. As we sit right now, where we've been since we moved to New Den is in the heart of Jackson Ward. So she could be walking these streets right where we are, is the point. If you've seen Tiana Freeman, please contact the National Center for Missing and or Exploited Children on their website, missingkids.org. Contact the Richmond City Police Department at 804-646-5100. And last, and certainly not least, we're looking for the youngest of the three, Zael Swan, who's missing from Chesterfield County, which is still part of us here in the Cap City, Richmond, Virginia. September 24th is her missing date. She's 13. She's 5 foot tall. She weighs 118 pounds. Last seen headed northbound on Philbrook Road in Chesterfield County. If you've seen Zael Swan, please contact the National Center for Missing and or Exploited Children on their website, missingkids.org, or contact the Chesterfield County Police Department at 804-748-1251. My sister and yours, Sister Cuz, Terry in Greensboro, says that Tiana C. Williams is her daughter's classmate. She has been missing since 2016 from Greensboro, North Carolina. Tiana C. Williams. I remember seeing the postings about her. It's been 5 years, and we're going to keep our eyes open all along the Eastern Seaboard and beyond for Tiana C. Williams out of Greensboro, North Carolina. So if you've seen Tiana C. Williams, if you've seen Zael Swan, if you've seen Tiana Freeman, or if you have seen Cleveland Peoples, please contact the National Center for Missing and or Exploited Children on their website, missingkids.org, or contact them at 1-800-THE-LOST, 1-800-843-5678. Ain't no Ask That Marks, J Live from New Den Legacy and Radio. I finally got all of the housekeeping out of the way, and it's time for us to move on to our rants and to our closing. Starting us off, our brother John, it is time for you to take the con, your uninterrupted moment to rant, to close, to share whatever it is on your mind, my brother.
I'm gonna keep it politics for my rant. I'm wearing my casino one shirt. RVA, let's vote. Please, let's vote. The casino portion is on the back of your bill. So you got, your ballot. So you got to flip it over. Casino one. We need it desperately, economically, here in the Cap City. Also, Steph says close. I don't know why anybody would want to put a man in office who guaranteed that women would not have the right to abortion as long as he's governor. He guaranteed it. How y'all putting that man? How any women voters, I think, either equal or outnumber men. I don't know how any woman, any mother of a daughter, could put a man in office who says he will guarantee that you will not have access or even the right to pursue an abortion, even in rape or at the risk of the health of the mother and child. So I have access to archives, but I couldn't pinpoint it if I tried. As hard as I questioned Joe Biden as a presidential candidate, much less a president. I really wanted a Bloomberg Rice ticket. I thought it was our best option for effective change economically and politically. I don't know if he would have did anything more or better for the black community, but I do know he would not have sought the approval or cooperation from people on the other side. He would have acted on his own ideas and made them happen, because he would have put his name and his money behind it in a way that wasn't illegal. And he wouldn't have cared who liked it or didn't like it. He would have got it done. Biden is stuck in 1974, where the idea of reaching across the aisle may or may not have worked. He seeks the approval of the head of the Trump party in everything that he does. And he's not willing to fight for anything if he can't get the approval of those folks. And we got to be careful, right, in this situation, because the way he got in, it was Jim Clyburn. He whipped South Carolina. And when he whipped South Carolina and Biden won South Carolina, Biden was looking real bad, right? He won South Carolina and changed the complexion of the election in the Democratic run-up. And that made Biden the forerunner and automatically made him a superstar. So he ran away with it at that point. And that was a sad thing, because Jim Clyburn knew better. But he wasn't thinking about people. He wasn't thinking about HBCUs. He wasn't thinking about Voters' Right Act. He wasn't thinking about police reform. All he was thinking about was his political cachet that he could cash in on, literally cash in on, for being able to whip the black vote in his state. Right? I need you all to somehow, some way, pay a little bit of attention to what's going on around you and not to what they're putting in front of you. If you see it on the news, if you hear about it at all openly, it is something that they want you to hear. And they want you to hear it for a reason. Nobody is truly reporting anything to you that they don't want you to know. There's a method behind every single word that comes out of all of the mouths of these people giving you information. Please do some research on your own. You have access to the internet. It's the World Wide Web. Get some information on your own. Educate yourself. And if you can't, find somebody that you know who can and ask them to explain it to you, right? Joe Biden is losing interest in people because he spoke to black people in a certain kind of way about what he was going to do. And his actions, even though if he's trying to do it or not trying to do it, his actions aren't matching his words. He said, I'm going to do for black. And then now he turned it around to using political language and stuff that black folks aren't interested in hearing. But I need for you to understand exactly what is going on. Just understand. Two more. Probably we're going to keep the Supreme Court the way it is, but in 4 more years, we're probably going to get 2 more that got to go. And if you get 2 more Trump appointed anybody, not even if it ain't Trump himself, if you get a Trump supporter in office and he appoints 2 more people who believe that women should never be able to get abortions, if he believes that you can ask for your governor in your electoral board commissioner to find you some votes to make sure you win, if he believes that gerrymandering is a good thing, if he believes that black people should only have the right to vote if they were going to vote for him, if that's the person that gets into office, then the Supreme Court will forever support it. And if you get it that way, we're going to revert back to some Jim Crow, to some Reconstruction time, where we're not going to poll tax, grandfather clause, and things to that nature. And people say, oh, no, it can't happen now. Things are better now. Now, listen, this is 2021. In 1961, the average wealth of a black family was $1,000. Translated to today's dollars is $10,000. Today, it's $5. Most black people in their house, in their home, in their family, got $5. So just think about that, right? And think about where we can wind up if we're not careful. Pay attention, folks.
You know how Steph Marcus J live from New Den Legacy in that radio. Steph B, you got the con, sis. Take us home.
Well, first of all, thank you, brothers. It's a good show. Thank you for the conversation. I appreciate you both. I appreciate your opinions and your willingness to share them with myself and with others. Thank you very much.
Before you continue, Terry says she loves the hairpiece.
Oh, thank you, Terry.
Yeah, it's nice, ain't it? the rap, the shawl is really matching.
Oh,
well.
yeah, I am digging the shawl.
I had to ask
Clint
John
Eastwood on.
earlier. I was like, is my bow okay? Because I didn't look at it before. I just threw it on there and came out.
Yeah.
But thank you, Terry. I read a quote from a book called The Prophets, and the subject matter of the book doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what I'm saying, but the quote was interesting to me, and it was on the book is The Prophets, is written by Jones Jr. and Son of Baldwin had put the quote out there too, and I've read this book, but it's called the quote is, everywhere a girl existed, there was someone telling her that she was her own fault and leading a ritual to punish her for something she never did. And that quote, when I read it the first time, it stuck out to me. And when I saw it again, it really landed with me. Over the last few weeks, I've been paying attention not just to the statistical violence against Black women, but to the words that we say to one another as Black women, and the thought processes that some of us, are promoting as Black women. Terms that have been built into the lexicon of Black society, like she is fast, she is grown. Words that we use to justify the bad behavior of an adult interacting or engaging with kids. And we don't often realize that when we say those words, we're planting seeds. We're telling people who we think they are before they even have fully developed. I mean, I have heard people say this about 3- and 4-year-old Black girls. You know, look how grown she is. You don't sexualize children. If you look at a child and say she's dressed grown or she is grown, I want to tell you, I've never looked at a child and seen anything that made me think sexually. If you're doing that, if you're saying those words, that's what you're doing. You're sexualizing a child, which means you, not the child, are the problem. I don't care what a kid is wearing. I never find children sexy. I mean, it almost sounds disgusting to even have to say that. But I want people to realize what you're saying when you say, oh, she looks grown. You're sexualizing a child, which means you have confirmed and comforted yourself. You've confirmed in your mind and comforted within yourself that a child has sexual appeal. It's a problem. And it's a problem in our community because the statistics of violence are growing and going up against Black women, but even more so against Black girls. There was a young Black girl that was raped in Farmington or Farmingham, Detroit, over the weekend. They just arrested the man who did it. There are young girls that are consistently being exposed to people, men and women, that they should not be. There are young girls that are being told that they're being trained improperly about their behaviors. There are people that are teaching children, and I'm speaking parents. I'm not talking in the schoolhouse, right? In the buildings. There are people that have had children before they were mentally prepared to raise, rear, or train anyone else, that are taking their damaged teachings, sewing it into their child. It's the only investment you are making. Your child is walking out into the world battered and bruised because of what you're saying back home, and then falling into the same gap that you probably fell into yourself. I'm not even speaking to brothers at this point. I'm speaking to the women that are listening. Because everywhere a girl existed, there was someone telling her that she was her own fault and leading a ritual to punish her for something she never did. So when little Black girls go to school and they are pulled aside because clothing fit their natural Black bodies a certain way, that it doesn't fit that other girl, and she is punished for it, that lesson was taught at home too, that her body is a travesty and something to be punished. Same thing happens when little Black girls are trying to learn to find their voice or speak up for themselves. Oh, she's so aggressive. She's so grown. You're silencing her early. And so now when she goes out in the world and someone that doesn't look like you silences her, you're offended, but you did it first. Do not give yourselves permission to punish and harm and abuse your children in a way that you would go crazy if somebody else did it. Don't give yourself permission to be the same abuser that you would want to fight in the street if they did that to your child. Do not give yourself permission to be the same abuser because it worked for me, because it probably didn't, or you wouldn't be repeating it. Do not give yourself permission to look at your child and determine that you can physically assault them in a way that you couldn't legally physically assault someone on the street. Black girls are under fire. Black girls are being targeted. Everybody in the on the Republican and on the right would love to talk about how, women are being targeted. Let me tell you something. White women are not being targeted. They aren't losing anything. As a matter of fact, their 80 cents to the dollar or 71 cents to the dollar continues to rise. I think it's 80 cents to the dollar. Continues to rise.
Didn't Obama sign something for that? Wasn't it supposed to be fixed?
Lily Ledbetter. It's not fixed. Okay. It's not fixed because people are not going to talk about us. It's easy to say, we signed it.
I meant for white women.
Well, Lily Ledbetter was supposed to create equity in pay for all women. But what's equitable when I'm 30 cents behind you? If you go ahead and now we both standing on you're on 2 boxes, I'm on 2 boxes, but you're 10 feet tall. It doesn't matter. And so ultimately, even with laws being created to protect and all these other things, a lot of the abuse is beginning in the words and the verbiage that you say at home. At home. And young Black girls deserve better. They deserve better because they're going to be Black women. And Black women are the rising tide that raises all ships. So do not be one of those Black women that puts a hole in the sails of your daughter's boat. And that's my rant.
Ain't no how Steppin, Marcus J live from New Den Legacy Internet Radio. I'll take the final word for the show tonight. You guys know that one thing about me, I've always been transparent about what's going on with me and how that relates to how I perform on our show every single week, every Monday. In the beginning, it was Tuesday, but basically every week for the last 10 years. As we celebrate 10 years in internet radio and podcasting and things, all things media, I'm excited. And when I first started all of this, I was full of what they call piss and vinegar, where I was feisty and I wanted to fight, and You know, I was ready for any debate, and I still am. Like, don't come with no bullshit, because I'll break you down intellectually and verbally pretty quick if you come with bullshit. But the truth of the matter is, I'm mellowing out at this point in my life. The only thing I'm really interested in is love and laughter and my personal health and growth and just becoming an all-around radiant soul, just being dope. And I think we often spend less time on self-care and self-help than we do fighting about things that don't need to be fought about. And we just spent almost 3 hours in here tonight, and we go back and forth, and we talk about the things that we talk about when John and Steph and I come together, and I love it. And I've been on record, and I've said this to people who have come through Legacy and the Radio, Ain't No Half Step with Marcus J, and those other folks who happen to know me. This right here, John and Steph and Marcus J, emphasis on John and Steph. This is the best combination of Ain't No Half Step with Marcus J that we've ever had. Just the dynamics that we have, the intellect that we have, the silliness that we bring, and how we can always bring it right back. And that is important to me because it lends itself towards my peace and John's peace and Steph's peace. Like, self-care is key. I think a lot of us don't spend enough time on it. That's why we so damn stressed out. And I get it, because life is hard. I got a teenager who's in college now, and I marvel at her perspective in life. We have conversations. We've had these conversations since she was in utero, but now we have them more in depth because she's grown now, and it's a trip because I'm seeing the world through her eyes, and I'm understanding life, her life and mine, even more now than I ever could before. And I'm become a lot more reflective. And I think that we all should, because the key to life is living. The key to life is service. The key to life is love. And the problem that I have seen that we've talked about in a roundabout way tonight is a lack of it. We still like to trade upon bullshit and struggle and strife, all of those things. And the only way that you can be at peace with your peers and at peace with your family and at peace with the people who interact with you is if you were at peace with yourself. So find your way towards that, whatever that looks like. If you like to take walks in the park, take that walk in the park. If you like to go on trips, don't wait. If you like to smoke your little weed, smoke your little weed. Don't get in no trouble. You like to sip on something, sip on something. If you like to kayak, kayak. If you like to knit, knit, crochet, crochet. If you want to go to the game, go to the game. Whatever it is that you do that shit. Because it's your piece, man. It's all you got. And I think that as I've gotten older, I've become a lot more self-aware in that way. And the greatest Marcus J that I could ever give you is the Marcus J that's at peace. Can't give you no more or nothing unless I do that. And it's the same for you and whoever it is that you deal with, whoever it is that you love, whoever it is that loves you. Find your way to peace. That's how you can be the best you for yourself and for those who love you. I'm learning. I ain't got it all figured out, but I'm on my path. And I'm glad that for the last 10 years, y'all been on it with me. And these two are walking this path along with me as well. That's the Marcus's unrelated rant. Ain't got a damn thing to do with what we ain't here talking about tonight, but this is what I wanted to say. It's the end of the show. I want to remind everybody that independence is the key to building your legacy. I also want to say peace to all of the stars and all of the squares. In the abundance of water, the fool is thirsty. Those are the words of Bob Marley, who you hear singing in the background. Ain't no half stepping. With Marcus J, we'll be back live here from New Den of Legacy Internet Radio next week, continuing to celebrate 10 years of live podcasting, internet radio. Very, very proud of it. That's how come I keep saying it. And you know what else? Authenticity has no competition. Ain't nobody like us. Ain't nobody like us. Ain't no have Steppin Marcus J. Be back here live next week, y'all. Holla at your boy.
Love you, social media,
Yeah.
all of you.
Holla at your boy, y'all. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm with this, with it. I'm just gonna lay back and I'ma drop some smooth lyrics. So tune in 7 to 9:30 and don't be late. We about to set it straight. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Word. I'm ready. Let's go. Ain't no half stepping, that's the name of the show. Yeah. Marcus J hosting and we ready to go. Yeah. Hunters talk sprinkle with a dash of humor to the legacy listeners and the online viewers. What you want to talk about, call it, we're hearing you. Cover all topics, touch on the main issues. With the flow in this show, bring the heat. Yeah. The word on the street, Wizard Earl on the beat. We superb in the beat, legacy online. 7 to 9:30, please be on time. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J, my brother. Yeah. If they can't hang, word to their mother. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before force. And listen up, this Marcus J start to talk, running back. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before force. And listen up, this Marcus J start to talk.